Like, okay, first prediction timeline. When do we start getting teasers?
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks in next week. Okay, so you say next week. So I'm with next week also because it's the 10th. They normally do teasers 1 week before the reveal. They said the announcement's like end of April, right?
Oh, you mean you're talking about teasers? Not okay, because I'm thinking like the announcement reveal will be like in 2.5 weeks. Okay, yeah, I think like I think next week we'll start seeing teasers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're all on the same page. So next week, sometime around like right around nowish, like 17th Friday somewhere, and then that gives us like a week before we actually start getting like actual reveal. 2-ish weeks, 2.5 weeks, and then actual early beginning of May, like somewhere around what, the 1st? It's either the 1st or the 8th. They do it on Fridays, right? So it's either the 1st or the 8th for the actual.
I think the 8th is more likely.
All right, first prediction. Who wants to start with their first? I mean, if I'll start with the first prediction, I'll make it an easy one. Okay, my first, I think this is an obvious prediction. The Atlas tree is getting like completely reworked. Like not the Atlas tree.
So right? I like having arguments with where I'm quoting GGG, and I don't like to just say, "Oh, remember that," and hope that you remember. So I like to bring receipts.
Okay.
So I got a receipt for you right here. Timestamps for your convenience. Where Mark says, I opened the Atlas tree and it sucks. And then
basically he said, I don't like it. It's shit.
That's exactly what he said. And then if you fast forward to 59:55, he says that the Atlas tree is going to be completely reinvented. And then like a minute later, he says something in the lines of it's going to be in a whole different universe.
Oh, shit. Okay.
All in context to the Atlas tree.
Okay, yeah, you brought the receipts. All right.
So I like to bring, proof and concept. Like, taking someone's word for it, that's credible, that's fine. But being able to provide receipts and proof of it emphasizes and locks in the argument, right? So I'm definitely with you on the Atlas tree rework. But when he says it's a different universe reworking, that doesn't sound like it'll be anything close to. Yeah, because I mean it can't be PoE1, right?
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck? What does that actually mean though? That's kind of getting me a little.
You were GHAZZY, earlier on your stream, you were about the Atlas tree or how they would rework it, if they will go more PoE1 or they will keep them separated. I will tell you, I would prefer them uniting the trees, PoE2, and not having them separated. Because I feel that having them united creates more of a choice of what you want to focus on. Having all of them, you just do the content and put the points that the content creator tells you to put in there, and then you do it, right? It is not as meaningful in my opinion in PoE1. Like, even if they don't go full PoE1, at least unifying the three.
I agree with that. The problem with that is that I don't think it's a problem because I'm very much in love with PoE1's Atlas skill tree. But the problem is it is then very much like the PoE1 skill tree. And the two things that will happen is the first one obviously will be directly compared to the PoE1 skill tree. And the other problem is there's two sides of the coin. Some people want PoE2 to become PoE 1.5, just a modernized new version of PoE1. And the other side of that coin wants PoE2 to be significantly and noticeably distinctively different than PoE1. So if their Atlas tree, which is such a big portion of the endgame's entire foundation, is too much like PoE1, then the part of the coin that don't want them to be the same game in the end, it will be upset.
Yeah, but like I think when people say they don't want it to be like PoE1, they're talking about what it looks like when you're mapping. Like that's almost always tied to when people are talking about like, holding down one button, blasting through the maps, yada yada yada. Like there's a lot of stuff in PoE1 that people do like in PoE2, And I don't, and like everyone likes. I'm not saying just the PoE1 blasters. I'm saying things that are like fundamentally agreed upon to be like good parts of the game. I don't. Like, I get what you're saying, but, like, I don't think they should avoid shit just because it happens to be in PoE1 also. Like, there's lessons, like, support gems is an example. Like, support gems are in PoE1. Like, the way that they're done differently with sockets is different, but the way the whole skill system works is that This is the PoE 1 skill system. The only differences are kind of tied to weapons, right? Like there's some differences there, but like a huge backbone of the game is still Path of Exile. So like I don't necessarily think that the Atlas tree is one of those things where it matters if it's similar to PoE 1, because I mean that system already works from the economic side of it too. Plus, what the fuck are they gonna do completely different? Like how?
Yeah, that's why I was so confused when he used the word "it's from a completely different universe." That's like, how are they gonna do that? I have no idea. I'm at loss. My imagination can only extend so far. At the same time, PoE2 is very good at the whole idea of new player onboarding. And I think that the Atlas tree is easy to understand for casual players, with the specific league mechanics having their own trees, and then the generic tree being for the non-league mechanic parts. But I don't mind that being a thing. But if they're reinventing it, like, what does that even mean? I have no idea where they're going.
Yeah.
I have an interpretation of the whole different universe thing, but that I could be wrong, obviously. But it could mean that, for example, in PoE 1, the Atlas is more like, it is not an actual place that you traverse, like in PoE 2 that you are traversing the world. In PoE 1, you open a portal to a place, right? In PoE 2, you are on traversing the actual earth where you are, right? Whatever. It could mean that, maybe, I don't know. But I do agree with DM that when people talk about differentiating the games, they are talking more about the actual gameplay. I don't think they are talking about a system like. And if the Atlas, they do a good Atlas rework, and people like it, if it resembles a PoE 1 thing, I don't think people will find it bad. They could come up with something new, of course, but you already have something proven to be good instead of trying again with something new that could be dog shit.
And when they have tried like new shit, also like people get mad at it. Like they tried some new shit, and people also just like visibly get mad. Like the Infinite Atlas, people say they fucking hate the Infinite Atlas towers. They tried to do towers as a way of juicing, which is like limited juicing. You actually have to like earn the juice and acquire. People fucking hated towers, myself included. So like, I feel like they've kind of tried, and people say like, oh, we don't want it to be PoE 1, but then anytime they try something like kind of fundamentally opposed to it, people hate that also. So at some point they're gonna just be like, fine, we're gonna do what we know people like.
I feel like 2 points for me is like, one, I'm obviously a big fan of the PoE 1 skill tree, so I wouldn't mind them having that be in PoE 2 because of how it's been a proven concept that everybody absolutely loves, especially for the concept of choice, right? To create your own adventures, like Misa was saying in his video. But at the same time, what you're bringing up, DM, is something that keeps reminding me of a very hot topic back in Harvest League. The TLDR, for those of you who weren't back then, the Harvest League was a crafted league. It was more miles crazier than homogenizing omens. It was, you basically crafted 6 tier 1 mods like it was nothing. Everyone was doing it. Everybody was sitting with mirror tier characters. Crazy as fuck. Everybody loved it. And what happened was they decided that, hey, this is too strong. We're going to have to nerf it. And the problem when they're going to change it is, no matter what solution or changes they did to it to nerf it, it would never cater to the majority of the player base, because you could ask 1,000 people how they should nerf it, and you would have 1,000 different opinions. And eventually they went with, what they did, and which was a good change in general, but only a very small percent of the player base considered that to be the solution they should have gone with, and the majority had different takes on how it should be changed. So I feel like it's one of those situations where it's doomed if you don't, damned if they do. So no matter what solution they end up with, people will be mad no matter what they do. That's kind of where I think is going to happen.
Well, and like, okay, so one of the things your guys said in chat, stole this from YouTube chat. We're going to get Catan-style tile grid where you place tiles with mechanics on them, forming matches and chains to trigger what benefits you. We are settling the Atlas. Okay. So also there's one thing about the Atlas that has to be fairly fundamental, is it needs to be like easy to alch and go. I think if they do something like that, where like the actual Infinite Atlas itself becomes chain combos or difficult to build out, like it's Alva Temple, I think people will just hate it, and probably correctly so, because a lot of people want to be able to get into maps and just place maps and do maps. And yes, you can do tablets, yes, you can juice, yes, you can find strategies, but you need to be able to just play the game at some point, at some base level, and have that actually matter to progress. You shouldn't have to like have this intricate mechanic as baseline mapping, Because like it doesn't need to be Diablo 4 level is simple, and it doesn't need to be like PoE 1 Mirage juicing like combo level, you know, with scarabs and all that. But you do have to have like some baseline basicness of mapping without like some annoying super involved mechanic immediately when you hit maps that people are going to have to now figure out. Like people are just going to want to be able to play the game. So like that type of stuff, if they do like a Catan type of thing with like, oh, mix match and all this different shit, it has to be a side mechanic. You can't have that be the baseline.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. We also have to keep in mind something that a lot of people forget all the time. The vast majority of the player base, no matter what game you're talking about, is casual players. And PoE 2 has done a lot of work and effort into new player onboarding, new player acquisition that PoE 1 was never going to be able to do due to the complexity and bulk of content that they have. And that's the niche, that's the charm of the game, but it's never going to attract the new casual players, which PoE 2 is doing. If they start doing these way too complex mechanics from the baseline, they're going to lose the winning concept that they have at the moment. I don't think that's a risk they're willing to take either, and they shouldn't. To be fair, the game should be open, like Ian was talking about. Right?
I agree, and circling back to what Ian was saying, like that the game doesn't explain to you anything about the end game mechanics, and the game is getting more complicated to get into using in the end game, right? I remember I am a newer player. I started with Path of Exile 2. Obviously, during the campaign, everything is easy. You just do the campaign, right? You follow what they are telling you. But once you get to the end game, I remember that at that point in time, the end game quest was do 3 tier 3 maps, something like that. Then do 5 tier 5 maps. Okay, you can do that. But that doesn't teach you how to use Ritual, Delirium, Breach, Expedition. I didn't have any fucking idea what these mechanics were. And what the feeling I was getting was that they are assuming that I already played PoE 1, which is not good for a new player, right? I had to go to YouTube and watch videos from you guys to understand what these mechanics were. And that is what the vast majority of the player base does. And that is only to know what the mechanic does. Then to actually use it properly, that is another topic entirely. So at least give me something, man. And the quest that they are implementing right now, because you can tell me, no, what they put in Act 4, they gave you 1 quest for Expedition and 1 quest for Delirium. Those quests don't explain shit. You do them, man. You still don't know what the fuck is going on. They have to improve that.
No, I completely agree. So I think part of that ties into one of my other predictions, to jump ahead a little bit, which is I think a large portion of the content that's going to be added in the in-game. And when they say in-game, I think they're referring to the part of the game that's actually titled in-game, because you have Act 1, 2, 3, Act 4, and then interludes, and then it says in-game. And in-game technically starts white tier 1 map is now in-game, okay?
Yeah.
So when they say in-game additions, that means from the beginning of tier 1 maps, that is what they consider in-game. So I think a large portion of that is going to be what we probably think of as like mid-game, which is like tier 1 to tier 16 maps, is like a huge gap of just blind, go out there, chase nexuses, which can take a really fucking long time. To Jazzer's point, they don't explain the mechanics. So I think we're going to see a large portion of the content be focused on things like we had in PoE 1 with like Exarch. Remember how like we have like Exarch, we have Elder, we have like go do this mechanic specifically. Like it actually tells you go do this boss, and you unlock chunks like the Void Stones. I think we're missing not only progression in that nature, but like a direction to go. And I think a lot of that is going to be additions of quest lines. And I think those quest lines will probably teach you some of these, because that's something that I have been preaching for from PoE 1 to PoE 2, is they do need to explain the shit, and they do a better job. Like they added like the videos with the skills, etc. And they have some of the quests. They have the blank runes and the Art of the Fisher, quests and all that. They need that shit for in-game, but I just don't think they had it cooked in yet, because they didn't even have it cooked in for the campaign. And the campaign's what they've been working on the in-game, which is like the last like few months, right? When they saw D4 in-game was getting roasted, they decided we're going to drop the rest of the campaign. We're going to make the in-game. So the in-game was kind of shoehorned at the last moment. Probably part of the reason we're having all these issues with the in-game now. But I think that is going to be addressed through mid-game content effectively, by giving you a way to go, and on the way to go, they sort of have quests and guidance to like teach you these systems. Because I completely agree, it's a huge missing point where you're losing people, because you have a campaign, it's linear, you get to end game, you get slapped with all these mechanics, and you get slapped with all these crafting mechanisms and the currencies to start using them, and you have no idea what you're doing. And like there was a while ago, there was a like a study done where they said if they put a consumer in the store and they give them 2 color choices, red or blue, they're happier than if they go down the line and there's like 50 color choices and they have to pick their own. And that same psychology prize like is the same thing in the game. Like you have to hold the hand a little bit to get people to be able to be familiar with the mechanics enough to actually be able to be free in the Atlas and feel all right. And I think they can accomplish that and also make the people that are playing the game very heavily happy as well, because additions of bosses and additions to like the mid-game content of tier 1 to tier 16 is also a huge chunk of missing progression, because the campaign progression feels great. You're leveling Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, you're starting to get Jeweler's Orbs, you're leveling up, you're getting plus the levels, like you actually feel the progression of your character. And then tier 1 to 16, just you should feel as much between those tiers as you do going through the acts of the campaign, and you just don't feel that at the moment. So having like these goalposts that you can achieve through questing, et cetera, I think will help out both sides of the audience. It's a real easy way to tie into Jazzers at this point.
I mean, another point there, you mentioned like dropping people, not really knowing where to go. We have another problem where a lot of people seem to be split on the call of power creep. Like we have very immersive and meaningful combat up until, Act 3 plus minus, depending on the build. And then when your build is quote unquote online, the game turns more and more into the general sense of PoE 1 with a more power creep style. You're running through the content. But before Act 3 or the end of Act 3, we're in a position where it's more immersive, meaningful combat. And you say people like that, and then they don't like the next half. And then you have the other portion of the player base that don't like the start of it, but likes the other part. It's again this whole idea with people who want the slower methodical combat versus the people that want the more speedy combat, and they kind of clash because one portion of the community is happy with the first 3 acts and hate the rest, and then it flips for the other side of the coin. But I think that for one of my predictions is part of what you were talking about as well, which is the power creep question. Is the question what they did with maps early was that they lowered the pack density on lower tier maps and let pack density go up in the higher tiers. But the question would then comes down to, are they going to increase pack density or lower it with increased rewards to double down on the immersive, meaningful combat they set out to do originally, possibly even giving players the option to achieve this with the Atlas tree and or tablets, so that maybe the Atlas tree will allow us to stay within this immersive thing where there are fewer monsters, but they're more combated. They're more actual fights you're engaging with from pack to pack, but there are fewer monsters with bigger rewards. And maybe that the Atlas tree is going to focusing more on that aspect of it to allow the power creep question for the people who want immersive combat versus power creep combat. But I think that kind of weaves into what you were talking about, DM, with losing players with a sense of direction, because the identity of PoE 2 is immersive, meaningful combat till you get to the end of the acts, and then that's kind of thrown out the window. And now we're back to PoE 1, hold down one button, run through the world.
I not only think that will happen, I know that it will happen, what you are describing about the Atlas 3 and solving, in quotes, this problem of people wanting different play styles, because Mark said it. And yes, I don't have the timestamp as you did earlier when he said it, but I know that he did, maybe in that interview on one close to that, I know it was with C, he did say that they were going to put into the Atlas 3 for the people that enjoy the slower combat, they were going to put nodes, for example, that lower the pack but give effectiveness. And that is one of the reasons why they added that affix, the effectiveness mod, to be able to move that lever for the people that prefer less monsters but stronger monsters, more rewarding, or the people that want pack size with less effect. I do remember that he said that. And they are going to probably put it in the.
My issue, though, they might do it. For me, it doesn't matter what they do until itemization is like addressed, because I think from the balance perspective, I don't think it matters what they do on like the game side of it is the issue. Like you can do any change you want. You can do more density. You can less density. You can make them. It doesn't matter. Like everyone's strong as fuck and they're killing everything. So it's like, unless they address like things like cast on crit comet, like how the fuck is anything they change to the game going to matter at all? Like we're going to see the same gameplay every single league. You can add in bosses with 200 million health. You can make the mobs right now in tier 16s have triple the health with a third as many. It doesn't matter. Like everything's gonna fucking die anyway. So like I kind of don't care what they do on the PvE side for like in-game balance until they address like itemization, and I think that has to start with like addressing plus to levels. And that's going to be a pretty big fundamental change. And the problem is if you start doing like a new character now, literally from level 2, as soon as you kill the miller, what's the first thing you do? You go check the vendor for plus to levels. You're either looking for plus to minion or plus to lightning if you're doing lightning, or plus projectile. I mean, I guess projectile is not as much on the crossbow, but you look for plus to levels like immediately, and it matters immediately. And then if you get like +2 chaos spells and you're doing EDC, and then you get a wand that's got like shitloads of cast speed, you could get a rare wand with triple spell damage and shitload of cast speed. I'm not equipping it because it's not as good as plus to levels. And I'm going to sit there with plus to levels until I get 20 more levels and find the next level of plus to levels by one. Then I'm going to equip that one. And it's just boring. It's just a boring way of going through items. It's like I'm looking for one stat and whatever else is there matters. And if it doesn't have one more plus to levels, I don't care about it. I think that's just straight up bad. Like just actually bad. And until that is addressed, I don't think any of the other side of the thing matters.
I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that as well, because I mean, DGG made a very clear statement explaining how the balance of the game expects the player to have a certain amount of plus levels on their main skill. That's how they balance the game from the start, and which is really weird to me. Like, okay, so that kind of makes that the staple, fundamental, mandatory modifier across the board. Is the entire game's difficulty balance expects the player to have X amount of plus levels of the skills. To me, it's very weird, but that's how they do it.
Well, if that's true, their curve of what they want plus to levels to match is wrong. But is the problem? It's like maybe that's true, and they did balance they wanted the game to be like, we expect you to have so many levels, but then we have too many levels or something because the levels are overwhelmingly strong over everything, and people are hitting like level 40 with some skills in the end game. So I don't know. It's too impactful at the moment, I think. So it's maybe they did balance it around it, but like I don't see that actually being balanced. I don't think the game is very much balanced at all right now.
I do think they have to take a look at itemization a lot because obviously plus skills is like the most egregious example, right? But there are a lot of things that are like a requirement on your gear. So that takes away agency from the affixes that you want to have on your gear. So it becomes like if it doesn't have this, this, and this, it is dog shit. And that connects with the other affix that I hate besides levels, which is Rarity. Fuck Rarity. All my homies hate Rarity. And one of my predictions is that they will try to improve the Rarity situation. So you have an item and you have to put in the item plus levels. You have to put resistance. You have to put Rarity. So how many affixes do you have to actually make your build?
Yeah, I don't think. Okay, yeah, I don't think they're going to address Rarity yet because I think that's an even bigger fundamental like change than plus to levels. I think Rarity is kind of like a huge one because it addresses loot. And what's the way to make anyone angry? By touching and fucking with loot. That's the number one way to piss off everybody, okay?
Yeah.
So what are they doing? They're trying to salvage what's considered a bad in-game, basically. By the people that are playing it, they're saying PoE 2 is a phenomenal game, but it has a bad in-game, right? Like that's the general consensus. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to flip that around. What have they said a million times? We'll release 1.0 once everyone considers we've had 2 good leagues, once we've had good reception for 2 leagues. Well, 0.4 wasn't a well-received league, basically. I think overall we'd say it's more of an L than it was a bonus in terms of player reception, okay? At the end of it, the people started saying it was good, but that's because the only fucking people that were left that hadn't quit because of the tempo being annoying to actually play were the people that love Tinks. And guess what the tempo did? It shit out Tinks. So you saw everyone quit the fucking game. Then everyone started saying it's fucking awesome because those people all left the game, and the only people left are the people that love that shit, which isn't the majority of the people. Okay? So basically we had one bad league. So 0.5 has to be received well if they want to have one more good league that's received well before they hit that 2 good leagues in a row. They release 1.0 to some positive reception because 1.0 is the last big marketing push they have where everyone's going to come back and check out the game. You'll see 1 million viewers again. You start seeing people like Asmon go checking out the game again, right? Like that's going to be 1.0. That shit's not happening until 1.0. So they absolutely want people to already be positive because the last thing they need is for 1.0 to go out, all the big people hop into the game and just like, wow, this game's dog shit. All right, guys, on to the next one, and then just mark it as like, okay, you know, on Twitter, everyone's saying it's shit, it gets dunked on, and then everyone just writes it off no matter how good it becomes later, right? Like, we see that happens to ARPGs all the time, all right? So, like, they don't want that. So they have to have 2 good leagues, and that for sure ain't going to start with 0.5 them touching Rarity, of all things, to try to change, you know, I mean, like, people are just going to get mad. People are going to get mad again. The people who love Rarity juicing are going to get mad, even if it's a better decision for the game. People still get mad, so I don't think they're touching that shit well beyond 1.0.
Yeah, I think it's a post 1.0 change. They also did talk about wanting to remove Rarity from gear and replacing it, but they felt like they needed to replace it with something else for that to happen. I mean, it's a hot topic. I kind of agree with Jazz on it, but I also don't think, like DM is saying, I don't think it's going to be happening before 1.0 is released, before that happens in general. On the other hand, they have committed very loudly and clearly. They were very, very, very distinct in their statement to saying we're locking in dates over features. We're committing to a 4-month cycle, every 2 months PoE 1, every 2 months PoE 2. Point 4, let's say that we're all correct with the assumption that PoE 2 is releasing early May. We all are in that boat. That means PoE 0.4 will have lasted 5 months. So in their announcement statement that we're going to see now the end of April, they are very likely going to have to address the fact that 0.4 is a 5-month league. And that kind of offsets like the flow of their content release, because if that's happening in May, next one is what, September? And next one would be January? But like Jess and I was talking about before, there's no fucking shot in hell that they're going to miss the December holiday release. It's too big of a month to release. It's the best month of the year.
I think I think the line will probably be, well, it had to launch early in December because of Christmas holidays. Basically, is the line. And then, okay, they're a little late on April or something, and then they'll smush the next. So maybe we get a 3-month league on the next. I mean, I'm assuming that's what they'll say. Like, they'll do a 3-month league or something, or the.
Yeah, maybe. Together. On the other hand, we know that Endgame was planned for 0.4. Didn't make it in time. They decided to postpone it. That means we know that they've started the 0.4 endgame changes during 0.3. It didn't make it. That means that 0.5 is getting a lot of months of work for endgame. So that brings up the conversation out, what else are we getting in 0.5? Are we getting TotA? Are we getting a new class or weapon? Or like what else are we getting in the 0.5?
That's the prediction sheet.
That's the prediction, yeah.
That's the we're on. So you're saying next point on the prediction sheet. All right,
exactly.
Jazzers.
I was going to segue that to my next prediction.
Nice segue, but clean. All right.
I felt professional, but now that you called it out.
I will give a prediction that is a negative prediction. So means something that we will not get.
Okay.
And I know that people are hoping for a class and weapon, but I don't think we are going to get that.
I'm with you on that.
We are going to get Ascendancies for the classes that are missing Ascendancies. For example, Huntress, Monk, Ranger, and Druid are missing Ascendancies. I don't know if all of them, but some maybe. But I don't think we are getting a class. I hope I am wrong, though. I would love a class. I just don't think it will happen.
Okay, so I think you're probably right, but I'm going to play devil's advocate for the fun of it, okay? So in every single league, whether they either have a campaign edition or they have a class. Because what do people say whenever you say a new league's coming down? They're like, well, I'll come back when. It's either I'll come back when there's more campaign or I'll come back when there's a new class. People that like casually play the game, the normal player, they come back to try out the new weapon or they come back to try out the new campaign. They don't come back because they heard there's some in-game changes. So I think that if there is going to be a new class, that would be primarily the reason. It's sort of the hook to get people to try to log back into the game, as opposed to like, oh, in-game changes I'm not even going to see until I beat the campaign again. Like, you know, I think that would be an argument as to why we see one. I'm 50-50 on it, though. I think you're probably right. Put a gun to the head and you make me guess, you're probably right. But if we do see one, I would say it's Duelist or Shadow. I'm leaning towards Duelist, but I think you're 100% correct. We're going to see at least new Ascendancies at a minimum for that same hook reasoning. And for the Ascendancy, I think sorry, I got the hiccups. I think Monk is going to get it. And the reason is because the two classes that needed love the most before Vershada was the Sorceress and the Monk needed some Ascendancies. Stormweaver, I mean, you had the double shock, sure, and I guess there was the like the weird chill stuff that came with the Volborn, but like before that, Stormweaver kind of dog shit, man, and people weren't really playing mana builds, right? And then you had Chronomancer. Don't get me started on Chronomancer. We literally just did the whole Chronomancer only league, and like I'm still looking for a single person to figure out a build that like actually feels good. So like like that's all they got. They're hurting. So then they got Vershada. Meta, people are using it. Great hardcore class. Actually a banger. Okay, then I didn't like the minion thing, but like the defensive side of it pretty nuts. Okay, Monk. Who the fuck is playing Monk?
Well, Chalupa is used for Sekima no hit runs, but that's about it, right?
Oh yeah, oh, yeah. The unanimously well received, love to be ran trial of suck my ass. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna make one of those.
Yeah, bro. I am going to create a character to specifically grind a mechanic that is dog shit.
let me. Oh, this is the pulling my toenails out class. I can't wait to do one of those, dude.
Okay, I feel like I'm the only one out here who finds Sekima all right.
You
On
are.
the other hand, though, I'm on board with you guys on the whole class weapon type, but I also like the whole devil's advocate argument with the new hook. And I think we do have to remember that the game doesn't live without the casual player base. If they want well-received two leagues, they need to make sure there's a lot of people coming back for it as well, because like you said, casual players are very unlikely going to care about the end game being fixed if they only care about the early stage of it, where the immersive meaningful combat is. And the casual players don't engage with the end game like we do, and when we say end game, we're talking tier 16 maps. We're not talking about the progression up until that, which is the start of end game if you look at it objectively. But if they're releasing a new class, I am 100% on board with the idea of it being duelist, mainly for the fact of it being swords. I think the swords is the biggest argument behind a new class, because everyone's expecting swords to be in the ARPG game, and people have been screaming for it for so long. So if a new class comes in, I think that the duelist will be there.
I do think the duelist will be.
Go on, Jess. Sorry.
That I do think the duelist will be the next class for sure. Also, not only because the community has been asking for it for a while, but Jonathan himself, I believe it was in a Destiny interview, said that the next class after the druid that he would like to release is the duelist, because the community is asking for it, and he will be very disappointed if they get to 1.0 and the duelist is not there. At least in 1.0, the duelist should be there. That is what he said.
Okay. So I also think it's gonna be the duelist, but if they don't release the duelist, then when's the perfect time to do a 1.0, baby? Like, you release it on the one where you want everyone to come back. Like, that's their trap card, That's their blue eyes dragon. Like, they can put that together at the last moment, I think. So, like, if it really depends how much they want to bait it out. I don't think they do any of that shit, though. I think they're just trying to get everything out. Though as soon as they get it out, type situation. Okay, next prediction. So we had GHAZZY, we had you. I guess that's back to me, huh? Okay. Here's the topic. There's two parts of the Atlas that have said that people think is going to get reworked. We already know the Atlas tree is getting reworked. They said as much. The part they didn't really address, and that's kind of debated, I'm not on I like the Infinite Atlas, but a lot of people don't like the Infinite Atlas. They think it's basically an unsavable design. It has a really bad portion of it, of which the more you play it, the worse it gets. That's like kind of a true point. There's some band-aids you could do. I've seen some counterpoints that the band-aids you could do actually literally just make it worse anyway. But it really depends who you ask. My thing on the Infinite Atlas is I kind of hope they don't give up on the concept of trying to create, like, you're actually going around a world and, like, finding things. I like finding unique maps on the world. I think that's cool. I think that's infinitely more interesting than having to, like, pick up, like, a unique map and just place it in the same thing where everything goes and opening it like we do in the PoE 1 mapping. I know PoE 1 mapping is better. I think that's because of content, not necessarily the design as much of the Infinite Atlas. So I hope they don't give up on that concept. But it is a debated point, and I don't know if you can get around. Like, I don't know if you can get around the fact that the more you play it, the worse it gets.
I like
So,
the.
do we think they're doing changes? Do we think they're doing changes to the Infinite Atlas at this point?
I mean, changes maybe. I just don't think that they're going to change the whole concept or, making it a different universe kind of thing. I don't think that's the case. I think there's too much effort and time put into what they have now for them to just scrap it. Similar to what they did with Towers, I think that they will find ways to make it good before they scrap it. Maybe we'll see changes to it in the future. But like, there's so many cool things they can do with the Infinite Atlas, the way it's set up right now and the way it's portrayed compared to what we have in PoE 1, which is just a checklist. Here, you have this map, you got to do this one now to get the next point. Oh, you got to do this map to get the next point, and then you have this grid, and like, nobody cares. So everything feels more immersive, which I think is quite important for the casual player base. But again, it's hard for us who plays the game, or games in general, so as much as we do, to put ourselves in the shoes of a casual player. So maybe I'm wrong in my perspective here, but that is how I see it. It also offers a lot of really cool things that we don't really have in PoE 2, or PoE 1, sorry. So for example, if you take Delve as a mechanic, they can literally flip that, and now you're underneath the ground on this Infinite Atlas, and that could be a really cool thing to engage with as well whenever Delve comes into the game. So there's so many cool things they can do with it, and I don't think they want to scrap that to prevent those openings and developments or evolutions of the Atlas. I think there are other ways they can do to make it better. I think we're all on board with the idea that clearing a tower should grant you a grand project effect on the tower that would incentivize tower clearing. But a lot of people also seem to be neglecting certain aspects of the towers. And for example, in my book, most tower layouts are one of the best layouts to do a map in the entire game. Like, I would rather run a tower layout than most maps in the game at the moment. They're very linear.
Fuck the map, dude. You like those layouts? I hate that fucking layout.
Most of them are really good. Like, they're very linear, straightforward. They remind me of Gorge back in PoE 1. They remind me of Beach. Or Strand. Like, they're very, very straightforward, very easy to clear, whereas other maps, I feel like they're so freaking big, and there's a lot of backtracking in them. I don't feel like there's...
You like the triangle one where you do the triangle,
like I said, most.
The stairs, and then you do
the triangle one I don't like.
The one that is like basically the Spires of Deshar, where you have to go through the fucking like bridges. You like that shit?
The Spires of Deshar is pretty straightforward. The Mesa one is probably one of the best layouts in the entire game. It's just a straight line.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you Mesa, but like the Spires, the triangle one, even that fucking
the triangle one is not big. It's not massive.
I don't care.
There are two triangle ones, by the way. One is the one that is like the Temple of Sopeg or whatever, the song one.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that one's dog shit.
I don't mind them.
I do agree with GHAZZY that the Mesa one is good. The one that is like a straight line, the Thunder Bluff. I don't remember the name. I call it Thunder Bluff, like in WoW. That one is good. That you are going like.
Yeah, it's just a straight line. It's very straightforward, and they're considerably smaller in size compared to the other maps, and that makes me feel better about it.
Why does the map need to be straightforward in order for it to be a good map? Like,
no, it's less backtracking compared to most other maps.
It compounds with the problem of the Infinite Atlas, and that is the thing. Like, I like the idea of the Infinite Atlas concept. I do think they are open to completely changing it if it is needed. The problem that people don't like the Infinite Atlas, besides the functionality of that it gets too big and you don't have a search bar and it loads slowly and you have the fog of war covering your shed. Outside from that, the reason people don't like the Infinite Atlas is because they feel they don't have enough agency over what you do, even more when you compare it to PoE 1. So if you are going to remove agency from the player, then you need to give me good maps, right? Or you give me agency. If you are, I am going to have dog shit maps. That is why it compounds with what GHAZZY is saying.
Like, you know, I agree with agency and map things. So, like, one thing I was wondering to myself is, okay, if you gave the player the ability to, let's just say the Infinite Atlas stays exactly as it is, just no changes, just for the conversation, okay? But the only change is every single time that you open a map, you get to play any map you want. You can run Ravine every single map you want, and you go the way. How much does that actually become a problem? Like, why would that actually be a problem at all? Like, where's the issue?
To me, that is not a problem, but I think that GG doesn't want you doing that for reason.
No, I understand. I understand, but I'm like, from a And I don't think they're going to do it, but I'm just like, if you think about it, the concept is you have to run maps you don't like so that when you run maps that you do like, they feel better, right? Like, that's the argument, right? In the same way you have to have bad items so good items are good, like, sure. So then, where's the scale tip? Because, like, for me, I feel like the scale is like it's too RNG where it's like, fuck, I got to do Mire into Mire into Mire into Mire. You know what I mean? Like, when you run those, it's the same problem as like we had with the temple juicing, where it's like you got to do the shit you don't want to do the one. So I say the balancing problem on the amount of maps that we actually need to do is, or is it, can we just have like, at what point do you have to play the game enough to earn the right to be able to run the maps you want to run? Like, you should eventually be able to get there, right?
That's why I like the idea of towers acting as grand projects without requiring you investments for it. Because then you can skip the layouts you don't like, and or you can traverse faster towards citadels and whatnot if towers gave you that. And that would incentivize people to do towers. I hate farming the same map over and over again. So when the meta is scrying maps, you scry your defiled cathedral to the most linear map, like a beach or strand map or whatever. And then people ran that thousands upon thousands of times. As soon as that became the meta in PoE 1, I just stopped. I'm like, I don't do this for currency. I stopped doing maps. I'm doing my profit crafts, and then I'll just chuck in whatever map I happen to have in my inventory. That's the map I'm running, because I cannot stand running the same thing over and over again. So for the hyper optimizers, obviously they would love to do the same map and over again, which gets really boring. And I think that could create problems for the people that are not hyper optimizing, because they will be incentivized to doing the quote unquote better layouts. And then the game gets very boring. It's the same thing as replacing the campaign in Diablo 4 with health tides. Okay, so this is the most effective thing. It's boring, but it's the most effective. So I'm just going to sit in whatever color health tide it is for the season and do that for the next 20 hours. It would be the same feeling in PoE if every map was the same. Like, what's the point in having different maps being created if everyone's going to choose, the strand map? It just makes no sense to me. So I really appreciate PoE 2's Atlas, that is forcing me into, no matter what I do, I will be forced into different layouts. Then again, there's the other side of the coin, which is the negative impact of it. There will be layouts that I absolutely fucking can't stand, like Mire.
Mire is the worst one. Number one. Fuck Mire.
Augury, there's so many, right? But if you then have the possibility, if I enter an area, it's like, oh, I want to do these maps. So let's just add another layer to it. Let's say I enter a zone and there's a corrupted nexus in the middle. I want to use the cleansed areas. I don't want to clear too many corrupted maps to do I want to clear cleansed maps, not corrupted maps. But if there's a tower nearby, if I was then able to do the tower and, frog leap myself into the corrupted nexus, then I got more cleansed maps to run with. That makes fun. There's more fun for me. Or if I'm progressing towards a citadel and I see like 3 goddamn Mires in my way, but there's a tower next to it, I would go out of my way to do the tower so that I could skip the Mire maps to go, past that chain of Mire maps. I think there's a lot of things they can do to alleviate the nuisances and the problems behind the Atlas.
I do like the grand project idea you have, but there is also the possibility that people are suggesting that people don't like towers at all and people want them removed entirely. I don't know what I would like personally. I am fine with towers existing. It would be better if they gave you the grand project. And I would also be fine with them removing towers. When I played in 0.1, I used to like towers, but I had not played Path of Exile 1 yet. Then I played PoE 1 and I understood why people hated the towers, because it is a pain in the ass to set up, while in PoE 1 you just play the game. But I also think there is a middle point they could get, now that we're talking about the layout, like keeping the Infinite Atlas. And you know how you have an Atlas 3 node that gives you different rewards depending on the biome you are. And that
Local
means
knowledge,
there is a set of maps that are related to a biome, right? They could give you something like the Orb of Horizons, or like the Terraforming Orb or something, that you can re-roll the map. Depending on the biome it will give you a different map of that same biome. That way you keep it a little random, a little interesting, you engage the economy, like you touch on several axes that GG likes for you to engage with, while not disregarding completely the thing. Also, there are people saying they like the rework they did to the Atlas in PoE 1 right now with Mirage, and they are saying that is the beta for the rework they are doing in 0.5. I don't know about that idea. I don't know.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of re-rolling a map because the real issue for me isn't like making sure I want to run the map that I want to run every time. Like that's not where I come at. I just don't want to run certain maps that like ruin the next 10 minutes for me. I don't want to run Mire ever. It's not that I'm unwilling to run maps that that are suboptimal. I just don't want to, like, one map is bad. Son of Kopek, the TotA
Mm,
Kopek guy. Like, I never want to run that map ever
yeah.
again for the rest of my life. If they had a map that was waterways every time that I play the game, I would never want to run that one either. There's just some maps that are just unfun, and I'm just roll my eyes when I have to play them. I'm willing to play maps that are just like, oh, this is a cool map, or whatever. This one's a fine map. This one's worse than the other one. It's not my favorite, but whatever. But like having to run the map that's like actively annoying, like I just don't want. To. So the reroll idea is good because it's just RNGs to another one. I don't have to roam Mire or whatnot. If I really wanted to spend the currency to get the one I want, sure. Like like I like that idea.
That makes
That would be
sense,
a
but I
solution for me.
mean, I don't think there is a solution. Like re-rolling maps, like they're set to be in a very specific way, right? You have water the biomes will obviously impact it. You have maps that are like close to the water, they can roll untainted and stuff like that. And re-rolling them would kind of feel kind of awkward because then you're like, okay, well, this is a Mire map as an example, but you can magically change the way that area is on the world. That like, it doesn't really make sense to be able to do that. Maybe the answer is instead to look at the unfun maps, which are, yeah, I think we collectively, unanimously in the entire community can list a couple of those maps that are just absolute dog shit. Similar to GHAZZY's tier list, he had an absolute dog shit there at the bottom. Like that's where a lot of maps belong. And maybe the solution would simply be to just make them fun, make them better, improve those maps because they have issues. They have fundamental issues. Look into solving the way those maps are treated, how they're presented.
Okay, but to bring it back to the original like starting point of the Infinite Atlas, do we think the Infinite Atlas itself is getting fundamental changes? Like, do we actually think there's a decent sized amount of Infinite Atlas changes coming to the design of the Infinite Atlas?
They had a statement in an interview with some websites about PoE 1, and in there was a section about PoE 2, how they really like the Egon's memory strand chain system, which is one of the main reasons why I'm very much on board that, well, this segues to another prediction, which is the new league mechanic. I think there will be some sort of bestiary stuff, because that can weave so well into the Atlas. Imagine this, the same core concept of Egon memory chains, where you start with one map and then you follow a chain, and every map you do uses up the remaining maps in that chain. Now put Bestiary, Einar, you encounter Einar, or whatever, as an example. And you're tracking a beast. You're killing certain things as you're tracking the beast, and then you get to use the next map of the chain as you're trying to track down the beast. And it will be visible on the Atlas where this beast is heading. And you track it down X amount of maps, and at the end you have this big beast fight, unique beast or whatever. That could be a cool thing they can do with the Atlas. And also weaves into the idea what they like with the Egon memory strands chains. I think that could be really cool. And again, further build up and emphasize on the whole structure of the Infinite Atlas, how it looks, how it's presented, and like just having some visual indicator on the map, like footprints or whatever the fuck, right? That you're now chasing, you're not actually genuinely straight up tracking a beast, and the whole mechanic being around that. Since we know that the league mechanics they're introducing to the game, especially now during early access, is meant to be core mechanics, that could be another way to build the bulk of content and things to engage with. I think that's a very high likelihood we'll see something like that. Maybe not now, but at some point.
I do really like that idea, by the way, King of the Beast. Like, if they are worried about not having rewards each map, you can have, like, each map you get a bunch of yellow beasts that are telling you where the red beast is, and then you get at the fourth map, and there is a red beast, which is a boss, and now you capture it. Like, that would be awesome. But going back into the Atlas thing, yes, but the thing is that the tracking or the Egon style threats, you could implement it in today's Atlas system, right? How it is right now in the Infinite Atlas. And we are trying to think about if they are fundamentally changing how the Infinite Atlas work. I think that one of the problems that people have with the Infinite Atlas is that after you play a lot, you have this huge thing that you get lost in, and the pin system is not enough. You don't have a search bar. There are people that say that even with a search bar, it will be annoying to traverse around to look at what you have. And I do think that is a UI problem that they need to solve at some point if they are going to stick to the Infinite Atlas. Although I do like it conceptually more that the PoE 1 Atlas, I do have to agree that the PoE 1 Atlas is easier to engage with just because it is one screen. You don't have to scroll, you don't have to look anything. Everything is there, right? So I don't know if they are going to compress it somehow or give you an easier way of looking at it, but maybe they are going to do something about it.
I mean, quality of life features, I think, like search bars, functionality and stuff like that has already been talked about and is basically, quote unquote, in the works. So I'm kind of assuming that we're going to see those things happening to the Atlas for sure to navigate it easier. But it definitely is another topic to consider where the veteran players who plays a stupid amount of hours have this insane screen opened up, right? But I mean, that's also a problem for a very small fraction of the player base.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it is a problem for a very small fraction, sure, but conceptually, if they do a good job with the game, that fraction of players who will become a problem for is going to increase, not decrease, and more people should run into that problem in the long term because historically their games have grown in player base and in the amount of people that play per hour in the end game over time. Like it's a long burn. So the more that they start adding more and more shit into the game, the harder it's going to be to rework. So if we ever do see a rework, it would basically be now before they start. Because the other part that's making me think maybe we do actually get an Infinite Atlas change. I don't think so. If I gun to my head, you make me guess. I don't think we're going to get any changes. I think they're hard committing. But if they aren't, okay, the reason that they wouldn't be hard committing is because they're about to add a lot more, like what I was saying, mid-game, like tier 1 to tier 16 content, I would assume, right? Like that's obviously the portion of the game that's missing. And if they're going to start adding things like quests and goals and those mid-game bosses, they have to be tied and associated with something. And if they tie it and associated with like progression on the Atlas, like for like a Citadel, for instance, or something like that, when they actually go to rework the Infinite Atlas, they have a lot more work. They have a lot more. They're going to have to reposition all of these quest lines, bosses, the way they were. They have to rework everything. So if they're ever going to do a rework, it's probably now when they're adding everything. So that way they don't have to do it again even later. And if they don't do it now in 0.5, then I think that's pretty much the signal that they're staying with the Infinite Atlas. They're just going to try to fix it and make it work in a way that's good enough for everybody.
I mean, I like to talk about the vision. I know it's a bit of a meme. In PoE 1, when changes are coming, we have this painting, and they're making adjustments to it, and we have an idea of like we know how the picture looks. They're making improvements to it. That's what they're doing. But we have the image. We know what we're going for. In PoE 2, we started with a blank canvas, and early access launched, and all we saw was them painting the primer on the canvas. There's nothing else there. And then the next leak came out, and it was like, okay, there's a little bit of color there. We have no idea what it's going to be. Point 3 comes out. We still have no idea what's going to be on this image. All we see is a little bit of colors on a blank piece of paper. And when the endgame changes are coming to 0.4, I made a statement saying that this is the first big launch where we're finally going to see the bigger picture of what to expect from this game, the direction, the power creep, and a lot of these things to give us an idea of what the end product will actually be. Like what is the image they're going to paint up going to look in the end? At least an idea of it. Then they postpone in-game changes. We still don't know. I think 0.5 will give us the bigger picture to the extent that we have an idea where they're heading with the game. And I think that's quite important. It's like, if they decide to stay, like you said, DM, if they're staying with the Infinite Atlas, then we know that's going to be, the end game is going to be focused around that, improving to that. If they're reworking it, then we'll see what that's going to be. So I think the 0.5 is going to be one of the coolest releases we'll see for PoE 2 since the launch of it.
Hard commit. You have to say yes or no. Are they fundamentally changing the Infinite Atlas in 0.5? Let's go with GHAZZY first. Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
Okay, GHAZZY. No? Okay, I'm going with no also. Just because
I am gambling. I am gambling because I am not against.
Okay.
I am not against the idea. If I have, how you said earlier, like gone to your head, I will say no, they are not changing. But hey, I am
Yeah.
gambling that they are going to do it
Okay.
because I don't think the idea that they could completely rework the whole thing is out of the question. More when I connected with the start of the game where they said that they weren't going to even include an endgame in there. They were going to do the campaign. Then they saw that D4 had the problem with the endgame and they decided to include an endgame that they put together in a couple of months. Maybe what we have is not the original idea. Maybe that is something they threw in there and they are going to change it. I don't know.
I mean, another argument to the topic is obviously that they chucked in a shoehorn, like you said, in endgame content to have some sort of structured endgame as a result of D4's backlash of lacking endgame. Like, this whole thing was just shoved into it. Maybe not given enough thought. And Mark saying things that, like, the Atlas tree is changing on a universal, like, it's going to be such a massive change to it. Maybe this is their step of saying, okay, but now we're doing the proper endgame. It could be.
Yeah,
There's a possibility.
I agree with GHAZZY that what they go with in 0.5 is probably what they are going with, period. Right? Like,
Yeah,
if they rework it or not rework it, that is the direction.
Yeah, that's, I think, 100% right. But it's just theoretically makes a lot of sense. They're fundamentally reworking it. I think actually they've consistently been struggling to deliver content. I mean, Druid got pushed back. The classes aren't all out. They had to separate teams for PoE 1 and PoE 2. PoE 1 at 11-month, elite. Like, I think the amount that it's been very obvious they're kind of struggling a bit makes me think they're not fundamentally reworking, like, basically the entirety of the end game. That they're just that I think they're going to add content. Like, that's why I'm saying no. Like, I don't see them having the ability to do all of that already. Plus 0.4, right? Didn't they say 0.4 was, like, supposed to have the end game, right? Supposed to have the end game. So you think that they were going to fundamentally rework all of the Atlas and add the Druid in 0.4 with the Alva Temple? Like, they were going to do all of that, and it just, like, barely didn't make. I think that would have been an insane amount of content for one thing. So unless after they realized they weren't going to make it in 0.4, they went back to the drawing board and decided to rework everything, then it's just additions as opposed to like a fundamental rework.
But you could look at the other side of the coin. What if, because they are reworking it, they decided?
What you think it?
I am not saying, I am just being a devil's advocate in here and trying to say that they didn't include it in 0.4 and they decide to delay it to 0.5 because they are doing a massive rework and they didn't have time to put it in.
Yeah, okay. You were saying from the other way. All right, could be. Yeah, it could be. I guess. Well, all right. I can see.
It is
both
like
sides of it.
We don't know, right? We don't know. It is a big question mark.
So here's one I think this is kind of controversial, but one of the things I think is most important sooner rather than later, is getting TotA in the game finally. Like,
I
getting the
literally
third
looking at my
Ascendancy.
this TotA on my
That's
list.
the next one on my list. It's after Atlas Tree Rework, decent size, infinite Atlas changes, large amount of mid-game changes, mid to large amount of in-game changes like chases, Pinnacle, etc. And then TotA is number 5 on my priority list. Like, before new Ascendancies, before league mechanic being solid and all that, I want to actually get TotA. Do you think TotA was supposed to be in 0.3 for the people that didn't know? Wasn't in 0.4. Now we are going on basically 3 leagues. It should have been in the game by now. Do you think TotA's coming 0.5?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we got 2 believers.
What about
TotA
you?
actually coming? I want it. I don't think it's coming.
You don't think it's coming?
I don't think it's coming. It's on my prediction list, but the more I think about it, the less I actually think it's coming.
The more I think about it, it's like, it's been extended league. It's a 5-month league so far, assuming they launch early May. 6 months if they release late May. And I'm like, this is something we should have seen in 0.3, but it didn't make it in, is what they said. I'm like, the third Ascendancy, people don't like chaos, and more people don't like Sekima. Also known as Suck My Ass, according to you guys. I'm just saying.
It's the problem. Okay, logically, it should be in the game already. However, from the development time side, they have to make a whole new fucking mechanic. Okay, it's basically a league mechanic, unless they kind of cop out a little bit and just make it like a boss rush or something, like interlude bosses. Like if they just make it like kind of cheesy, then like okay, sure. But if they make it what TotA actually is, that's basically a whole goddamn mechanic, dude. Like that's a big mechanic that they have to do, and it has to come with tattoos. And then tattoos is a whole nother balance nightmare. Like, what are they going to do for actual tattoos to make them strong? So they have to have a reward system and a new league mechanic on top of making another league mechanic, on top of doing the in-game rework. So basically 2 league mechanics with the whole in-game rework in the same league. My God, that would be a banger of a patch.
Well, I mean, they extended or postponed in-game changes from 0.4, which means they've already worked on it. And now we have a 5-month 0.4 with in-game changes already being worked on that was preliminary planned for 0.4. Surely there's development time in between there to get even more content out there. TotA was supposed to be in 0.3, so surely that's already been something they've worked on. Surely that's either close to be done or already done. Surely. I mean, 3 leagues? Come on.
I do agree with GHAZZY that they should have or freed up time to work on it. Also, supposedly the Trial of the Ancestors was supposed to be there from the start. So maybe they had at least the basis for it. We already have the place where it is going to be in Act 4 because we went there. The only thing it is actually playing it. I think it doesn't require, at least in terms of terrain, as much development because the place is already there. And it, of course, the Trial of the Ancestors happens in the same place. I do think it is entirely possible. There also exists the possibility that I don't think it will happen, but the possibility exists that the Trial of the Ancestors is the league mechanic, so you don't need an additional one. Also, I don't think you necessarily need tattoos. You could drop it without tattoos and put something else, right? Like we associate them with tattoos, but it is they can rework it as they have reworked other stuff. And people want another way of ascending, man. People need another way of ascending. It is one of the most requested things. So I do think there is a big possibility we get the transfers. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get it, but I think we should get it.
Tattoos are already in the game, though. The quest rewards.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So like
in the place with the monkey.
Yeah. And stuff. But like I see that as like the lead up to it. Like a blank rune's already in the game, but we have other runes. Like it's the lead up because tattoos are associated with Trials of the Ancestor. Like you should get more tattoos. That's even more of a like, you know, you got tattoos from the quest leading up to it. Here you are in TotA. This is the tattoo place, right?
Okay, but Delirium is in the game, but I don't see any cluster jewels.
Thank God for that.
Okay. Yeah, but like Delirium has its own rewards also. Like, I mean, you know, yeah, cluster jewels, sure.
But like, yeah, I'm just saying it doesn't have to.
Okay, but if the first Delirium you did in Act 4 dropped a jewel and then, you know, guaranteed, would you think the jewels are going to be coming from Delirium? If Delirium wasn't in the game yet, then the only Delirium we had was the one in Act 4, and then it drops a jewel as the reward. Would you be like, oh yeah, I bet jewels are coming to it?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's what we have.
But the game is, but there's no clusters.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We're in the same spot though. We don't have the mechanic yet, so we don't know the reward. But it's the same thing in Delirium. If Delirium dropped a jewel, and then you didn't have the Delirium mechanic yet, you would be thinking jewels are coming to Delirium.
Yeah, it's fair. But I'm just saying, like, they can have TotA without tattoos. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think they should, because I think the passive tree fucking sucks, basically. And like the more additions we get to the passive tree, the better it is. Like
wouldn't it be better to fundamentally improve the tree instead of developing a whole new mechanic to fix the tree that should be good in the first place? Because the fundamental thing that I thought PoE 2 was going to solve was the complexities of PoE 1. If we add cluster rules and tattoos, those are very complicated for new players. I think they should not go down that route. Just improve the tree and put something else in the mechanic. But I like tattoos. I wouldn't be unhappy if they give us tattoo. I think they are cool. But just like thinking fundamentally about it.
Yeah.
I feel like tattoos aren't really like that. Like you click it and you put it into the thing. Like they're not really like that complex, right? Like that can be understood in the quest line where it's like, hey, okay, take this and then put it in your tree, and then you click it and you're done. But all right, you know, fair enough. Power. Here's my pessimistic take. I don't even think TotA is even started being worked on. Like I don't even think they started on it yet.
When did you turn so doom and gloomy, man?
I'm not dooming. I'm being I'm being realistic. I think they have a shitload of stuff that they're working on right now. And I think TotA's on the back burner. I think they have a lot of stuff that they're like, this is a priority well before TotA. We got stuff that's imbalanced as shit. We have the in-game that needs to be reworked. We have a campaign that's not completed, and we got 4 classes that aren't out, and plenty of classes in the game already that don't have a third ascendancy. They've already said that making the class is harder than making the fucking campaign. So, like, I think they have a lot of other things in which they're like, TotA's cool, but boys, like that area is developed. We'll drop it in when we can. We have to make a league mechanic for the goddamn league. I think that's what they think over TotA. Because the thing is, what do they prefer? Having a good reveal for a new mechanic or adding in a mechanic we already know what's coming? Like, there's no way they're going to prioritize TotA over making the league mechanic good. There's zero shot. And TotA is an outside of the in-game mechanic. It's an in-campaign. You do it. You do your thing. It's not even part of the end game. Like they're going to prioritize the in-game mechanic literally always, and then they're going to add in TotA when they can. So I don't even think they started on it.
Okay, I don't think that them not starting on it is correct, but I can see the other points you're making. I refuse to believe that they haven't even started it. That doesn't make sense to me.
I agree with GHAZZY. At least they have a concept of a plan.
Sure, yeah. They have a vibe board.
A vibe
somewhere.
board.
They got a Pinterest somewhere for their ideas.
Pinterest.
Now, with predictions, I will throw one out that I honestly don't have an answer. But I am going to ask to you guys. Do you guys think we are getting Act 5? Yes or no? I honestly don't know. I can't see arguments for
0%.
0%.
I have a hot take here.
0%.
I have a hot take. I think that they are not going to give us more act, period. And I think they're releasing the game in December, and they're giving us all of the acts in that launch to make it as big as freaking humanly possible, and to further quadruple down on the marketing exposure they're going to have from the millions of dollars invested into the ExarCon in November. And
Agreed.
That's already going to be massive. And if they hold the campaign and then drop all of it into the big launch, it will explode even more in terms of exposure, interest, and the ROI from it will just be so much better if they do that. So I think that from a financial perspective, I think they'll do that.
I 100%. I think they do 5 and 6. There's only 2 acts left. The 6th one's supposed to be short. 5 one's supposed to be a normal act, right? So I think it's going to be Act 5 and 6. Come play the faux campaign. That's going to be the sales pitch, and that will make people log in. I think campaign makes people log in as much. So I think we're going to get swords and the faux campaign in 1.0. So you get the swords for all the people that have been bitching money about winning swords, and then you get the campaign all in one. Every single person and their mother is going to log in. That's exactly what I think it is.
Because I think that if they, quote unquote, only have one act, and they drop that now, for example, and then no new act, and then ExarCon comes out and like, oh, the game launches in December, here's one more act. It's big, everybody's gonna be hyped, I'm not saying that. But it would have a much bigger impact if we're getting all the other things fixed. Certain balance related stuff, endgame content, all of the small things, well, not small, but all of the smaller things around it fixed. The ExarCon comes around and they say, oh, by the way, we're launching next month, and we're gonna have the entire campaign is there. And the new players don't have just one more act to go through to play through the previous act they've done and the new one they did last league, and then there's only one new act to go back to. But instead giving them all of it will just be more content for the casual players. And I think that's going to have a huge impact if they do it that way.
I agree. 5 and 6 will drop together. 6 is supposed to be short. Like they've said it's like a boss rush or something at the end anyway. So if it's going to be the shortest one out of all of them, like you just want that to be like the sales pitch for one. You're going to want both the acts.
Yeah.
Okay, I will push back a bit, and not because I think you are wrong. Like, I don't know what will happen, but just to present a different argument, I do think they want to test the campaign, right? So I do see a world where they release Act 5 before 1.0 and Act 6 with 1.0. They have said that Act 6 is going to be very short, maybe something more like an interlude, and Act 5 is just a big act, how we know them. So I do think they would be okay with not testing Act 6, but they would like to test Act 5 in the early act.
All right, here's my counter pitch. Not testing it is better than testing it for the release of it. The reason why is because the only time people start complaining about the campaign is when they play it the second time. So when they release it on 1.0, people will go through it, enjoy it. The next time you play it, no matter how good it is when people will be annoyed by playing it. So what they don't want is for the 1.0 to come out, and then you're playing through the campaign you already have experienced, and be like, fuck, I gotta go through all 6 of the acts. They want you to have that fresh, raw dog experience, even if you're getting shit on by bosses, and it's not in a perfect format. They want the fresh experience for the 1.0, as opposed to the solidified, clean experience.
It's funny that you say that, getting fucked by bosses, because it reminds me of the summer before early access 2024. We were in LA playtesting the game. There was a bunch of content creators and a bunch of game journalists. And was it Preach Gaming? I think we sat down and he told us about this game journalist who was next to him, who we can only assume was from IGN. I don't know where it's from, but we're assuming it's from IGN.
Let's not assume. We don't know where he's from. Let's not throw people under the bus. We don't know. Is
So
some nameless, faceless.
He was fighting the Devourer, and he explained it that the guy going like this, like getting mad and like waving his hands because he kept dying to the Devourer, which was like a side boss, right? You don't have to. And anyways, the guy took a break, went for some food, came back half an hour, 40 minutes later, and had the same experience for another 20 minutes or so, and then left the venue and never to come back.
Okay, to be fair, and I'm not trying to. I would, if that person wrote an article or something about it and actually gave the game a review, absolutely roast him. I didn't see the dude write an article. He didn't even try to cover it. Okay, to give him a little bit of a defense. I'm just saying, to give him some defense. Okay, he didn't try to make content out of it. And then the shit was kind of like, let's not pretend that we all didn't die to it. The shit was kind of OP. Like in the early, walking out's an L, but like it was a little juiced. Okay, it wasn't exactly the most balanced game.
It was slightly less juiced than the version of the Devourer we got to fight at XLCon, because at XLCon they gave us a test run on Act 1 versus the Devourer, but they had deliberately juiced the fucking shit out of it. So, I don't think there was many people at all at XLCon back then that even beat Devour. It was easier than that, much easier than that, but it wasn't easy. It was hard, but he was. I remember Preach saying that the guy never used dodge roll or something. I'm like, I'm just saying.
I didn't know this story. Now I want to find out about it, dude.
I'm trying to be the nice guy here.
What, you went from the bad cop to the good cop now?
I did. I try. I was just putting myself in the guy's shoes. Like, you never play the game. You don't. I don't know. You play whatever.
Oh, you mean I'm applying for new jobs?
Forget it. Number 6 on the prediction list. New Ascendancies for old classes. That's 100%. I think 100%.
Yes.
100%. 100%.
I don't care if we're getting a new class or not. I definitely think we're getting new Ascendancies for Ranger, Druid, Huntress, Monk. I think either all or at least some of them.
I think we are going to get at least the 2 that are already in the Path of Data. The Wild Speaker for the Huntress and the Arcane Archer for the, at least those 2.
Okay, controversial take. the Ranger needs to get deleted instead of getting a third good Ascendancy.
Base
And
base
then,
as fuck.
and then the actual third Ascendancy should go to the Monk, who has the worst leveling from 1 to 14. And sure, if you're playing 747's Chalupa Monk with, you know, or some shit, you can make it work. I'm not saying you can't make it work. I'm just saying I think it'd be pretty considered a not very played class for a while with a rough start and a rough part of the tree, unless you like evasion ES and you just want to click those nodes and you get the crit, sure. But like, give them a third Ascendancy, please. So I think it's Monk. It's probably Ranger, but like, all right, you know, the Ranger's gonna get a third. Yeah, 787. Sorry, 747. I'm thinking of the plane. Thinking of the Boeing, Mr. Boeing over there.
Absolute gigachado. Pradas. Absolute gigachado.
But no, the Ranger's probably getting it, right? Like, wasn't that the people keep talking about the Ranger? It was Datamining or some shit. Ranger's gonna get a third.
Okay,
OP
but
class.
the Datamine, people need to stop clinging on that. There is a ridiculous amount of metadata across the board. Like, for example, we already knew that a Wyvern was coming based on metadata from the Datamine files before it was announced. Like, we saw that. Like, it was very clear because the metadata pointed to literal things such as movement speed, states, the code itself was showing all of these things. We also saw remnants of the where tree form, but that did not have the metadata latched to it that was pointing towards things like movement speed stuff and turn-based stuff, animations and sound files. So there looked like there was something prepped for a where tree, which I believe was something that they scrapped. They've hinted about this.
I've seen it.
You've seen it, yeah. So DM has seen it, but there was metadata in there, but
It was
none
so
of it.
fucking cool.
So I would love to see that maybe being the new thing for Druid. That would be so cool. But all I'm saying is there's a lot of metadata in there that is also pointing to real things, such as sound files and movement things, turn things, even how the coding of how the unit is supposed to be behaving on falling down or dying. All of those things, they have these things pointed in the files. That exists for things like Summon Demon Magus since early access came out. We still have no idea where that's coming or if it's coming. We saw it for a bunch of other things. We saw it for Summon Wolf for a very long time before the Druid came out, and it was fundamentally changed when the Druid came out. So a lot of people digging through the Datamine files and saying, oh, this and that and this and this and this and this. There's a Summon Companion, which we are currently assuming is the equivalent of an Animate Guardian. And we know Jonathan is a big fan of the Animate Guardian in Period 1, so we're assuming that's the case. But we don't have any other information on it, and it's been there for a very long time. So when the whole tactician and shit came around, we were like, oh, this is it, and it never came. So like, there's so much data and information in there that either will not come or it's just remnants of things they've been testing out, and whether or not it's going to make it into the actual game or not, we have no idea. So when people talk about, this class or that class, they've been data mined and picked out, there were information for the Rarity to the point where DM has seen it in action, and it didn't even get into the game.
Okay, all right. To be fair, it didn't have any moves or anything. They had the placeholder, rigging or whatnot, but this shit would not have worked, bro. I'm just gonna say, they made the right choice cutting it. Okay, like, it was cool. That shit should not, like, it was correct decision was made over there not having it in the game. You think it was hard for them to animate the fucking wolf? Like, imagine trying to animate these little legs, like, crawling. It was a fucking nightmare.
I mean, they did a fucking wyvern.
I said, oh, this rubbish. Imagine trying to animate every twig. What do you mean, fuck the wyvern? The wyvern is the coolest. The wyvern is the most OP.
It is a scaly pussy boy. The bat is cool. The bat should be the base the base model, and the scaly boy should be the microtransaction.
How do you feel about that, DM? Any comments?
We don't have to argue about it. Wyvern is the coolest design ever. I think they need to buff the Wyvern, make it even better than it is. You know, I'm watching Game of Thrones again right now. It's making me enjoy the Wyvern.
What, you're watching Game of Thrones?
Flame thrower ability looks cool as fuck.
Yeah, no,
Fair.
it's great. It also had the most bugs out of anything I've ever played, so I couldn't see my screen half the time when I was playing on launch. That was cool. I got stuck in every pebble. Thank God that's fixed.
Ay, ay, ay.
But I connecting to what GHAZZY said about that if it is a Datamining doesn't is coming, obviously you are correct, right? Like I also said that I think that those two, I think we are getting them because when I think about, okay, I think we are going to get new Ascendants. We have for me. If I have to put likelihood on the ones we are getting, well, I am going to pick the two that we have the splash art. But you are correct that just because something is at the mine, it doesn't mean it is going to be there. We could get the other two and not get these two because we even have data mines for the access abilities and stuff like that, and that is not in the game. So you are, of course, with that.
So the other thing is like half the people are like, oh, we have the art, but the other half of the reason people are saying it is because the artwork's now behind Jonathan. Like in the room, you can see the art behind Jonathan. That shit has been there. Like you can go back to like old dev chats and like PoE1 and shit, and like you can, it was there the entire. They move the art around all the time. They're always redesigning the room. We've seen that shit since the beginning. They just put the art back on the wall. So like that's not new at all, boys. So
You know, I'm working on a Lich back piece tattoo for my entire back, and that was originally supposed to be either Infernalist or Blood Mage. And I thought the Blood Mage looked cooler with the artwork, so I reached out to Jonathan before the Lich came out, and I asked to get in touch with the original artist for the Blood Mage to get some concept art and the original images from the beginning. And Jonathan said, "You something in the lines of you might want to hold off on that," is all he said. So I did, and then a couple of weeks later, the Lich is announced, and I just wrote to him, "Oh, yeah, you're right," and he said, "I thought you might like that one." So that's how I ended up with a Lich instead. So I mean, yeah,
That is
there's
a good one.
definitely
Saved
like
you.
art.
He saved you a
Oh
back
yeah.
piece that you would have been kind of upset about.
No, the Blood Mage looks dope as fuck. We would have changed the color theme on it and make it more undead-like, with the whole floaty bones and shit like that. It would have worked perfect as well. But the Lich definitely was a better call. But it's like the art and all those things, like they're made very, 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 very early. W.
But I
Jonathan.
do,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that was a good one, Jonathan. But I do also agree with what Dan was saying that people sometimes read too much things in movies and that. No, the author tried to say something by picking this picture. Now, bro, he just thought it looked cool. Like people are reading into it that they put specifically that frame in there because they were secretly telling you that that is the next thing.
No.
You are looking too deep into it.
This is one of their better ones too. Like the
Infernalist one. Yeah.
Yeah, the Infernalist looks pretty good. I got this with Displate. Using code DM at Displate for what, I don't know if the code still works, for percentage off. It's so great. You can get yours now for Path of Exile 2 at displate.com/@DM.
Good shit.
Wow. I better
Good
hurry.
ad placement.
Come on, brother. How cool is that thing? You need to have one of those in your bedroom, brother. There is one for a divine orb that is beautiful. You don't have a divine orb in your bedroom. Go.
Bro,
I have it
Go.
on the ceiling, so when I'm falling asleep, I can just see the divine orb.
There you go.
I put a painting up in the wall in my old apartment, and my fiance was so mad about it so many times over. But I tried. My fiance is actually redecorating the house at the moment. In the last few weeks, I came into the house the other night, and every single gaming related like statue and thing, like the whole Bleed Heart statue in Twitch, the Mephisto Soulstone, the Valdo box from PoE, and like all of the like a bunch of statues and shit. Like even the play button, it was just laying on a like pile on the kitchen table. And she said, "Do something about this. They don't fit in my decoration." So I don't even know where to put it anymore. The new fiance. Jesus Christ, yes.
I'm busy messaging my agent, be like, let's try to get Displayed again. Apparently my code's not active anymore.
Oh
I don't have my.
shit.
Oh my
Hey,
god.
display. What up?
Never mind, everyone. Take down your disc plates. Block the block this one. You can't see this anymore. All right. So what we do? We did TotA. We did the new Ascendancies. We kind of all agree there's one coming, like for sure. There's been one like every. There's always been a new Ascendancy, right? Like there hasn't been a reveal.
Point
or
3
release
is
out.
the only question mark because the only Ascendancy we got, quote unquote, only is the Abyssal Lich, which is a core Ascendancy.
True.
But that's
Yeah,
the only
true.
league where it's a small thing. Every other league has had something major with the Ascendancies.
It's a good segue, right? Do you think we are getting
A new secret? Your mic cut out a
a
little
new
bit there.
secret ascendant? Secret
New
ascendancy
secret
like the
ascendancy?
Abyssal Lich. That you
No,
engage
I
with
don't- I-
something and then you unlock a not that regular.
I don't think so. I think the perfect time to do a new secret ascendancy would have been in 0.4. Like I actually think the tempo fits like pretty perfect for a secret ascendancy actually, and there's classes that could have worked with it, like the Gimli Legionnaire, for instance. So there's I definitely think they missed an opportunity to do a secret ascendancy with the Alva tempo. It really depends on the league mechanic, I guess. So we don't know what the league mechanic is. People are again speculating for the third league in a row that Delve is coming. So I think that that's literally just people want fucking Delve. I don't think it's actually like there's any actual like thing that makes sense. And I think there's absolutely 0% chance Delve is coming this time. I don't think there's
Dude,
any
don't
chance
destroy
we're
my
getting Delve.
hopes, brother. Don't destroy me.
I'm destroying 0%. Zero. You think they're going to do the Alva out of map league mechanic? We spend all this time building up like a steady progression, and they do kind of the same thing in the next league mechanic with have you do an outside the map, continually ramping harder progress. I don't think so. Twice in a row, probably not.
I agree,
Now-
but also let me dream.
I think that the concept of a Secret Ascendancy was really cool, but they can't do it too often, so it needs to be this very rare occurrence. But I do agree that if they wanted to do more of that, then Temple would have been perfect for Gem the Legionnaire. Even Blood Mage could have a fitting scenario there. There's a lot of different takes on that. But the concept is cool, but I don't think we'll see it anytime soon.
Okay, so what do we actually think the league mechanic is going to be? Let's see your predictions for what you think the league mechanic is actually going to be.
Well, my vote is still on the whole tracking the beast, and I think it has to be something that emphasizes endgame content and the Atlas. I think the tracking beast bestiary, and since they're having this idea of fusing PoE 1 leagues into a 2.0 version, I think the bestiary might be connected with Harvest potentially. And if they're not doing that, I'm actually on the Delve part to further emphasize on endgame activities, because Delve is essentially, quote unquote, a second Infinite Atlas, right? I think those two are the highest probability from my perspective.
I do think, like, although if you ask me what do you want, my number one is Delph. A different question. What do you think we will get? I agree that the more logical thing is something in maps, right? So a Bestiary makes sense. I don't know if they would put Betrayal in PoE 2 because of how complicated it is, and they already put the build affix with the Abyss. I don't think we are getting Heist because it is the same boat as Delph, that it is an out of map mechanic and it is semi-complicated. Blight is a controversial one because it's tower defense, it is your character. So when you start discarding mechanics, what do you get? Legion and Bestiary, probably. Harbingers, if they rework them already.
No, don't. I don't. Please not Harveys. I mean, if they rework them, sure, we can address them, but like, please not fucking Harveys in this name. I actually, they're one of my least favorite mechanics. I know people all like them; they're a divisive one, but like, I fucking.
I mean, people like them because of the reward structure, and because the reward structure started sucking, they removed them.
Harvest is one that could happen.
I think Harvest is kind of connected with the INR stuff. That would be pretty cool. It pictured the idea I had with the tracking the beast, and the destination is, I don't know, like the home place of the beasts, and it's just a bunch of Harvest monsters. Maybe I'm reading into it too much because I really like the idea.
I don't know about Harvest. I have my own take on that one. But like, okay, here's what I actually think is coming. If I had to guess for the next one, I would think Legion. So there's multiple reasons why I think Legion. Okay, number one is I think they're going to do an in-map mechanic. I thought they were going to do this in 0.4. I was surprised they didn't go with an in-map mechanic, but I think there was some of that which he was playing Loop Hero and got excited by that style and kind of like went off on like this side game, which I think actually outside of the currency like manipulation side of it, Alva Tempo was like, I think overall basically a W. You had to fix the UI, you had to, the interface had to be fixed, the user experience. Like there's a bunch of issues that need to be fixed, but overall the tempo is actually really cool. And everyone overshadows the part. The part that gets overshadowed is like the actual rewards from it were really good. So now you have easier access to jewelers. The prosthetic limbs are really cool. I kind of wish you didn't lose them just immediately upon death. Like maybe they could reapproach that part, have ways to like reinforce and like lock your legs so you don't just fucking lose them immediately. That could probably be solved. But the Valborn's fucking awesome. Added new builds. I mean, I did one with one of the new things. There's a lot you can do with that. GHAZZY boss fight's actually really good. It's just you wouldn't know it because the balance is off, which isn't the tempo's fault. It's the itemization again. The balance of the game is off, but the GHAZZY fight's actually really cool. The new uniques, not just the Valborn ones, but the new uniques like the spear, really cool. We got the new chest plate, which is actually like hard to get good stats on. So we have a new high value sort of chase type of item. The tempo itself actually added a lot into the game. So I think that was an overall great mechanic. It's just so hard to enjoy it in its current iteration. I kind of don't like the tempo just because I don't enjoy the process of building the tempo. But if I'm just going to GHAZZY, I think it's like perfectly fine. Okay, so that was great, but it's not an in-map mechanic. Has a lot of depth to add to the content game, but it's not an in-map mechanic. A lot of people just want to run maps and don't want to do side games. That's why we see people that didn't like TotA, didn't like Blight, didn't like a lot of the side game stuff isn't for people. Some of them are. Delve, for instance, is one. Heist is another one people don't really like, right? So they're divisive. Anyway, we obviously need in-map mechanics so that way people that are just out and going, like want to actually just map, continue the map, do nothing else. That needs some valuation at the moment. So I would think we're getting in-map mechanic. Now, the reason for Legion, there's a couple reasons. Number one is going to be that there was a line somewhere, I forget where, it was in one of the lores. I think it might have been in one of the teasers for 0.3, but it was somewhere in relation to, oh no, you know what? I think it's in Act 4 when you click on the book. That Legion is somewhere in Delve, like they were delving and they basically hit Legion. Was one of the teasers where they said there's like I forget exactly what it was, okay, but there's something referencing Legion like within Delve, and then also in PoE 1, like you can actually find like Legion bosses in Delve, right? And we know Delve is coming, so you probably have to do like Legion before you actually do Delve, or else where are you going to put the other like mechanic bosses into it? You probably want Legion bosses in there. You probably want like maybe hit some Abysso bosses type thing as you're digging down, etc. So I think you got to have Legion actually first, and then there's some shit you could say about like in Act 3 when you fight Viper, she like flashes and there's some time related shit. I think that's like a Legion reference perhaps, so she could actually be a Legion person, etc. So there's some other shit in there that means,
well, she is a Legion person in PoE 1.
In PoE 1, I didn't know she was even in PoE 1. I'm referencing PoE 2, but
The Viper Legion boss, like it is one of the Legion bosses, not GHAZZY.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's an even stronger case for it, right?
Yeah, she goes into like a Legion portal or.
That's also true.
Yeah, and she flashes out in Act 3. So I'm gonna guess Legion.
I think that's a fair guess, to be honest. I also like the idea of building bulk of mapping content that is going to potentially be there in Delve before Delve shows up. There's an argument for that to be made for sure.
Okay, so that's League mechanic. Okay.
If I have to pick, sorry. If I have to pick between Bestiary and Legion, I prefer Bestiary, by the way. Like if I have to
Bestiary would be great, but do you think they actually add if they go Bestiary, do you think they actually add the crafting materials that we think they're going to add? Like, do you like suffix to prefix those stuff? Like, I mean, how do you think they approach the Bestiary crafting? Because the rewards are like pretty strong in PoE 1, but there is no like meta crafting, so you can't really have that addition.
I think that they're going to fundamentally change the way the beast crafting is. Because I think that in PoE 1 is too complex unnecessarily. I do believe that, based on what Mark has been talking about in the previous leagues, is that every league mechanic is meant to cater to and help support and build the concept of crafting in Path of Exile 2. So I don't think we'll have a league mechanic without some sort of crafting changes happening. I mean, I think people would kill for the possibility of things like res or attribute swap. Because right now, one of the biggest issues is with loot is not so much the quality of loot. Because I think this might be a hot take, but I think quality of loot is pretty decent in its current state. The problem is if I'm playing a game and I have a pair of gloves with fire res and intelligence, and I drop a pair of gloves that is now directly going to be an upgrade for me, but instead of fire res, it has lightning res. I can only equip this direct upgrade if I find another item or 2 or 3 or 4 other items to change on my other gear pieces to be able to equip that piece because it has the wrong resistance. And I think that allowing us to have some sort of crafting, maybe omens or currency investments or some sort of sync for divs or X or whatever to be allow us to do something like that would allow ground loot to be much better as well at the same time.
I don't know. I think I'm fundamentally against having res swap, to be honest with you.
Really?
I prefer we don't have res swap. I don't think it makes ground loot better.
How do you help that situation then? Because the soccer levels for sure don't help that.
And one thing on the sockets is they originally said the socket system was supposed to replace the whole benchcraft system to allow you to fix and fill your attributes and resistances as needed. Then the league after they've said that, they introduced a higher level of sockets in the form of talismans, which was supposed to bring power, player power. And then the argument was, well, at that point, your gear should be covering your attributes and resistances. That makes all sense. But the higher end game gear you put in your character, the tighter your attributes and resistances will be. You're going to be closer to the cap, not just accidentally overcapping 50 res on one of your resistances. That happens on the lower end gear where you're just stacking these things. In the higher end game where you put better gear in your character, you're going to try to maximize the amount of power scaling you get from the equipped items. And that means that the resistance and attribute rolls will be as close to exactly what you need and nothing else. And now they replace, and now the talisman that were introduced is now going to remove the only tool we had to fix the minor lack of attribute resistance here and there to now grant us power, which puts even more pressure on the idea of our gear having that covered. But we don't have a tool to operate around it. We can't change or adjust it whatsoever.
It just it doubles down on like a fundamental issue, which is like offenses are completely overpowered. The only thing that you have to worry about at all in terms of defenses is like energy shield resistance, etc. Making res swap makes your items like even easier to scale the offensive side of it. It's blatant power creep. It makes mid and lesser tier items worth less, which means ground loot actually becomes worse because when you pick up an item that has resistance, life, and like basic stats on it, when you put it up on the market, it doesn't matter what res you have now anymore. It's worth like automatically less. So you don't have any of the people trying to buy gear that need like exactly your fire res or lightning res and life that you dropped, and maybe they'll craft the rest of it. I think it makes the problem worse, not better. It's only good for people min-maxing at the absolute highest level that went to min-max, like, I want to move my lightning res around, so now I don't have to buy the gear. But the whole problem you're talking about, like, okay, well, now a cascading effect, I have to change all this gear. It means there's value in the other gear actually out there on the market that have those resistances. You're removing all of the value of needing to acquire those other pieces of gear by just changing your resistances at any given time. I think it's a terrible idea.
Okay, so do you think that
what if you swap it?
Hey, you go first, Jessica.
What if you swap it from a piece, like the Recombinator, but not exactly the same, instead of use from harvest?
I'm sorry,
that way you have to get a piece of gear.
Your mic cut out like several times, so can you repeat that, please?
Okay, sorry. What if you take it from another piece of equipment that has the rest that you want, like something similar to the Recombinator, but not exactly the same, where you just swap the resistance from the other piece, right? That way it is not just used from the harvest, and that way you have to look for a piece that has a resistance, and you address that problem that you are saying. while still addressing the problem that GHAZZY and I are saying, that it is like sometimes you have the perfect piece of gear, but it has the other resistance, and now you have to set up your whole fucking character to equip this gear. You are not going to do that. And the sockets don't fix the problem because, again, GHAZZY was spot on. I agree completely. The sockets, if the sockets are supposed to fix my resistances, why do I have another endgame item that slots in there, and now I am not fixing my resistances, and I still have to do it with the gear? So you are not really solving the problem. You are just postponing it.
I mean, I like it better, but like I think fundamentally being able to just change the resistance to any other resistance you want, like this early into the additional content coming to the game, removes a lot of potential space for other crafting, etc. we have in the game that can still come. Resistances are a huge. There's not many defensive layers. We have your total health pool. We have resistances. If you're using armor evasion, etc., there's not many of them. It's not like we have endurance charges, etc. I don't think we actually need a solution to the problem of resistances right now. If you add this in, you can swap resistance all around. It's one of the only layers of defenses we actually have at the moment. And doing that too early, I think it's too much too soon.
Let me ask you this then. Do you think that low tier items and mid tier items is irrelevant to PoE 1?
Yeah, basically now. I mean, we've already had more and more and more crafting. Like,
I mean, the
are
tree
things selling
the
currently with
biggest
like
issue with the
double
tree
res
was
and
that
life at the moment? No, they're not.
the biggest issue with the tree crafting was exactly what you're talking about. It just destroyed the whole concept of low tier and mid tier items.
Yeah.
And that's not a result of rest swapping, because before the tree crafting, I don't think most people would arguably say that rest swap was making mid tier and low tier items bad. And the difference is
Right,
we
well,
have
I
rest
just-
swap and we have bench crafts in PoE 1 to help alleviate those things. We don't have that access
Yeah,
in
but
PoE 2.
it's a sure, but it's also a bad comparison because PoE 1, like I'm saying, we have many more fundamental parts of defenses layers in that game as well. And also, I would argue, yes, actually, low and mid tier items are actually pretty unvaluable in PoE 1. I don't think they're worth very much. A lot of the items that you pick up off the ground are just one chaos. I think they're trying to get away from that shit. I think they want ground loot to actually kind of matter at the moment, and I don't think it does. And I think the more and more that we make the stats easier to manipulate off of ground loot immediately, removes the chance of actually having an item that will sell off of ground loot. I don't think that currently ground loot is going to get in a position of being extremely valuable outside of things like exceptional, etc. But I think the fact that they're not adding scouring in the game, they seem very strong against that. The fact that they're adding the tier system and trying to make those more valuable, I think they're trying to make the ground loot actually more valuable at the moment. And I don't think it is valuable at the moment. But I think that they could get there. And if as more and more that we relieve huge amounts of power creep around gear and around crafting out of the game, it will become an issue in the longevity as we add more content in the game. It will remove space for them to actually add more things into the game. Res swap is huge. It's a huge addition to the game. You use it all the time in PoE 1. And I think that instead of directly just adding, like, I can turn my 40 fire res into 40 lightning res, and now no longer you don't need any specific res. You just need a res on the gear, removes a lot of value out of having to find the specific resistances you need in the game, and removes a lot of space for further mechanics to come into the game that could fill that gap. The fact that you're so worried about needing the resistances and you're having to do all these things shows that there is a want and the desire for these types of things. So instead of giving the nuclear option of just immediately you can change the resistance to whatever you want, just here you go, there's space to actually add bonuses to that. If sockets suck, so be it. Let's come up with a better system or something. But I don't think we need to basically just delete resistance out of the game, at such a huge level.
I think this all boils down to a perspective change, the difference, because I think that ground loot would be fun and better in my perspective if I could find an upgrade on the ground that I'm actually going to equip. Whereas you're saying ground loot is good if you can pick up an item and then you can sell it to then buy the item that you want for your upgrade. I mean, that's obviously, I don't think we should have Soul Self and being the main topic here, but it does hurt that part of the game, I guess. All I'm saying is it's very, outside of the first day or two of the league, it's extremely rare that you will ever find an item on the ground that you're actually going to be incentivized enough to equip, because you have to change.
Do you think that's a problem?
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that how are they going to improve ground loot to the point where that fixes that problem?
I don't know, but I can tell you by invalidating more ain't helping the problem. They got to get there still. I can't solve all of that immediately, but I don't think we should start creeping the other way and making stats that show up on it immediately be able to be changeable at that level that quickly. Not this early in development. Maybe we get to a point where we actually need it. Maybe the actual bosses become more difficult. Maybe we get endurance charges. Maybe we get all these other like type of defensive layers that we start playing around instead of just res life, basically. At that point, sure, can reapproach the argument. But like now res swap? Don't think so, man. I think that's going the other way too soon. I mean, offenses are out of control. Adding power creep to defenses too. It's like, man, how easy do we want this game to be?
I mean, I think it's fair. I believe that there are both pros and cons of both aspects, for sure. I mean, obviously, I don't think that anyone's wrong in their take. I mean, we are obviously having different opinions on it, but I don't think that any of us are necessarily wrong or having a bad take on it. I think both takes are good. It's just that we're looking at it from different perspectives. That's how I see it. Because I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I think exactly the same because I don't disagree entirely, although I would prefer the other thing. And I would be fine with either, by the way. I think the game will be fine with either. But circling back to the original thing, which was, are they going to put that with Bestiary? Like, Bestiary can have different types of crafting. It doesn't have to be that. It could be affixes cannot be changed, or suffixes cannot be changed, or it could be simply adding affixes like the benching craft, but at a lower power. I don't know, but more deterministic. It can be something like an omen, like the omens right now are too rare, the big omens, right, too rare and too expensive. So you get a weaker omen for cheaper with the beast. It can be many things.
The only way that I would see res swap fitting in a way that I think, okay, it's not invalidating ground loot, etc., is it has to be expensive to actually fundamentally use resistance swap. So that way you're only doing it on items that are, one, worth the valuation of doing it, that won't be replaced by buying basically another equivalent item in the trade. Two, it has enough value to actually have a sink around it. And three, gives an economic opportunity for people to actually farm these materials and sell them to people that actually need it, enough so that it makes up for the fact that they could have maybe made some currency, et cetera, from selling those types of items. So in that regard, I could see it being added. But the way that it's implemented in PoE 1, which basically resistance swap is more or less free, I think would fundamentally be an issue. But we can go on to the next point.
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss it all we want. I think fundamentally we're going to end up in both solutions have really good outcomes. Both solutions have really bad outcomes as well. And it comes down to preferential perspective rather than this is right or wrong or this is better for the game or not. So we just have to wait and see what the decision making for GG is and how they want to operate around it. That's the way I see it on the topic. One of my other predictions, to move on, is actually about the temple. We know for a fact that basically we're expecting every league mechanic that we're getting are going to go core. We are expecting temple to go core. Now, obviously, the current state of PoE 2 is lacking the bulk of content that PoE 1 has after more than a decade of development. But I think it's fair to assume that temple will go core with that statement. The question that pops up from that standpoint, though, is how are they going to nerf the temple mechanic whilst providing enough incentive to actually running the mechanic to begin with? And that I don't have an answer to. Just like Bestiary and Evolve Architect, loot tables, that's one incentive. But what about engaging with the mechanic outside of doing boss rushes with it, such as the snake building? Like, how are they going to balance that to a state where it's incentive enough to build it? And I don't think anyone would like to see a full-blown snake build be the pinnacle way of playing again. First off, it would be boring as fuck to do the same thing over and over again, and it can't be at the state that it is right now. I think we can all agree on that, right? What do you think, Jazz?
Yep. Change the bonuses of the rooms and incentivize people that the two strategies are viable, or rushing at city, but we don't want that to be the only one. Then looking for the temple specific loot is also viable. In the temple you have like the cultivation orb, the sacrificial chamber, the corruption chamber for the double corrupt. You have the special sockets, the special tablets. make people to also want to target that instead of just, oh, I am going to get 1,000,000% rarity stacking the temple and getting 1,000 divines. That is unoriginal, that is lame, that is boring, right?
Okay, some people are gonna hate me when I say this, but the temple needs to be consumable by nature. So you build out your full snake or something like that, and then you get your run, and then it destroys it all. I don't think you should be able to sit there and build your fucking snake all the way to a Prince 200 divines each, and then every single time you can just run it over and over and over again. It has to be you juiced it up, you get one banger run. I'm cool with you guys getting one banger run. You earned it, you did lots of hours, you set it up, now you get your dopamine. Let's fucking go. This is the run. How many divines? Oh my god, I got 30 divines from this run. Boom, fuck you, start over. Like that needs to happen. Okay, you shouldn't be able to build this goddamn thing where you're not allowed to play any of the other game because your temple does everything. It drops all the fucking tier zeros. It drops all the fucking divines. You can juice it. It does not need to do that. Okay, you want the dopamine, you can have it, but you're gonna earn it. You're not just gonna like build it once and be done and then sit in your temple jacking off for 3 weeks. Like you need to be able to build it and get some juice and then start over. So the locking system, when it's built, needs to go. I don't know how you do that specifically because you need to be able to still kind of lock it as you go until you hit a certain point. Maybe there's a maximum amount of rooms you can build it to. And if you don't continue to add on rooms, then it destroys it. So you have to keep building it up. Then you hit the maximum amount of rooms and then it deletes it all or something. There needs to be some kind of system they can figure out the details. You should be able to still juice it. You should still be able to get some better loot technically than the maps. But on average, okay, in terms of the hours it takes to get there, if you want that big dopamine, you can earn it. But you cannot sit there and have that printer run nonstop. You got to keep putting ink in the printer. That's my take on it.
My take is similar to that. I think that they should lower the amount of rooms that the temple is killing. So that if fewer rooms are disappearing once you finished it completely, like drastically lower it. But as more rooms are coming up, they should have more thresholds. Say you have 10 rooms on it, you lose, just the numbers don't matter. Like you lose X amount of rooms. And when you have 15 rooms, then that should go up even more. If you have 20 rooms, it should go even more. And then remove locks altogether. Completely. Just remove locks. So the way you build it is you build like one snake. And then you have to have a bunch of fodder rooms that you hope is getting deleted. And if they don't get deleted, then you can every now and then get these juicy runs where you have this one snake that gets really big, really juiced up because the killing RNG didn't take a bunch of those rooms. I think that would be a cool way to do it. And the bigger it gets, the higher the risk of losing a lot of it. And then you'll reach a point where it's like you can't run it over and over again. There will be a cap of how much you can build it because it's going to start killing off too many of your rooms. And you'll get this little bouncing balance of this is like the maximum approach you can get. And a little bit of RNG involved, but just remove locks altogether. That's how I think they could solve it.
Yeah, I mean,
that is a good one. I like the one that DM said too. Like you can choose to run or keep building, right? So you do, but when you run it, you know that the temple is going to be reset. That is a good idea. Why not?
Yeah, Bill, I think if you run the tempo, then it's over. That's how it should. You can build if you want to keep building. You have your tempo, you're set up, you go in. When you enter that door, that shit's done by the end of it.
Yeah,
So
but that
you can
means
set
every
it up
8
if
crystals, you put 8 rooms, and then you run it, and then it resets. Like, how are you going to implement a system where that's going to be? Then you would have to have, like, well, you can run 8 rooms and then run the temple, or you can save up 20 crystals and then run 20 crystal rooms. But then you're going to get into the Holton situation. People are going to run a tier 1 map and then, you know, stack up the rooms, and we're back on that situation again. And like, I don't think that's a good solution either. I just think that
I have also
removing locks is a better solution because then you cannot get to say where people build these insane temples. It's just impossible.
It's not a perfect solution. I off the top of my head, I'm not gonna have a perfect solution, but I think having it where you can run it and then it deletes and you can change the amount of rooms you get does 2 things. Just as a throwing out there, okay? And again, I'm not saying it's the perfect solution. It's just a theory, okay? Ballpark here. It puts more fun into the actual building side of it. So you don't run 6, fucking maps and you go and you place 2. You place a huge quantity of. So you build the thing. So you do the build and then you do the run. So you get a little bit more fun out of like, I'm actually going to build the thing as opposed to doing 2 and then 2 and then 2 and then 2. You actually get to like kind of do a building portion, which I think is lacking for me. A huge focus on it's supposed to be you're building the thing, but you're kind of doing it in like 2 at a time. And it's a little annoying going back and forth and constantly build, run. Like having an actual building time would be kind of cool, and you can stack them if you want. 2, it's entirely your choice if you want to run it early or not. Like you don't have to walk in there. You can build it out and you can get the one banger out of it if you want. And that's just a decision you made. Like it's okay, well, maybe people do have to run 1 billion of them, but they're trying to get 200 divine in one run. Like, you know how long it would take to get like that many divines or something and just running normal maps? Like you have a decision. You're building up your loot chest and then you're cashing out. Like that's your take. You can't have it be good every run. I just don't think you can have it print currency every run, or else people will never be in maps. They'll only be in maps enough just to get the fucking crystals like they already are.
I'm just concerned that if you're able to build it that way and only run it when you have built it, it's going to incentivize Holton behavior, where people are just going to run the fastest, easiest tier 1 map with the juice up to
They're
get the
already
Holton.
doing that.
Yeah, but that's
They're
what I'm
already-
saying. Like it
they're
will
already
continue incentivizing that. And I feel like that's one of the major problems with it. Either way, I mean, I think we can all agree it needs to be nerfed, and then we're ending up in this discussion, which is just how are they going to nerf it? And we have no idea, and we all have different opinions on it and takes on it. But I guess we can all agree that it should be nerfed, right?
It has to be.
Should,
it has to be.
should,
nerfed.
100%. Not
the
not only
nuke-
because. Okay. The nuke.
You
What?
go.
Okay, not only because of how profitable it is and it invalidates everything else, but also I just think that the way the temple is built right now is lame. It's boring. I don't like it how the optimal strategy is. I think that also should be nerfed. Some things that I have heard suggested is make the temple smaller, like a 6x6 thing. I have also heard the possibility of trading the medallions, all obviously getting rid of the locking medallion, but all the other medallions you can trade them in the currency exchange. Making rooms like the road or the pathing does not always connect. Make them connect, because it is unintuitive that these paths don't connect all the time. Why they don't connect, we don't know. And we have to go to a third-party website to figure it out in the temple planner. Like, simplify all these things, incentivize people to actually go for the mechanic of the temple, which is or at city or the unique currency for the temple. Make it smaller, simpler, and I think it will be good enough. Also, allow me to trade for the using for the temple, meaning the beacons, the little things that power the temple. In PoE 1, you can trade the temple itself. I understand that you don't want to trade the temple for some reason. You want people to build their own temple, but at least give me the possibility to buy the energy to not have to look for it in maps, because if I want to run the temple, I don't want to be in maps. And if I want to be in maps, I don't want to run the temple. So if I find the energy, I can sell it, but if I want to run the temple, I can buy it.
Hmm.
You could also do something, again, just random idea here, not saying it's a good one, but you could also do something where all the currency that drops in it ends up going into like Adziri's Trove. And then once you beat her at the end, when all the loot comes out, like you have to go kill Adziri to claim your rewards. So you could run the temple if you want. All of the fucking currency drops and shit goes into like the treasure chest, and then you got to go kill Adziri to reset the fucking temple to get it done. Also, you could do something like that, or you could just do the nuclear option and literally just no currency drops in the temple. Just fuck you, no currency. Go get the unique drops, and tier 0s and all that shit can still drop. You can still have your rare item farming, nerfed a little bit, but just fuck you, no currency.
Yeah, that's
people would hate that. People would absolutely hate that.
I know, but I don't care. I would rather have no currency than the shitloads of currency that we have now. I agree with that. I'd absolutely rather have that.
I'm with you on
You
that
have to
one.
remember that they temporarily disable or I don't know if they disable it or they just nerf temporarily the medallion that locks the temple for like 2 or 3 days, and people were already mad. No, I spent 3 weeks building my temple, and now my temple is gonna get destroyed or whatever. Like, it is not easy to please people, dude. Like, I understand sometimes why GG doesn't do the thing.
The dudes, I don't care if the dudes who are farming a mirror a day get mad. I just don't care. It's like okay, this shit cannot stay in the game. Period. Like,
Yeah.
end of discussion, boys. Like, how the
I'm
fuck
with you
are
on
we ever
that.
gonna Yeah, I don't give a fuck if they get mad. 100 divines a tempo, and then you go run the most juiced map possible. Maybe you get 1 divine, maybe 2, 5 if you really get lucky. I don't give a fuck if you get mad about it. Like, you can't have the game in that state. Period. Like, period. There's no. Why would you ever do anything else? You can literally drop a mirror on a pretty good chance, like in the temple, and you're gonna tell me you're gonna farm something else? The fuck are we talking about? No, that shit has to go, dude. That shit has to go.
Yeah,
I
I
agree, base.
definitely agree. I mean, like the biggest problem with it is, you know, the whole meta deal. People want to jump on the bandwagon and join the meta, and then people who didn't catch on to it early enough, or casual players don't have enough time to catch up with it, and then the market inflates and everything just gets fucked up, and then the people that are casual players who don't have time to play a lot, they feel like they can't keep up, and then they quit the game because, like you said earlier in this yapathon that we're doing, you know, people hated it, and then the people that hated it quit because they fell behind, and then suddenly people loved it because only the people that enjoyed it and are doing it are still playing. Like you said earlier, DM, it'll be the same, that kind of approach if they leave it like this, but I don't think it'll happen. It'll be interesting to see how they're going to nerf it, though.
Yeah, I think it's going to be just a numbers nerf. I think they're just going to crunch the numbers way down, way less raw mobs, way less effectiveness. It'll probably be about 1/10 of what it is now or something.
Or hard cap a juice at some point or something like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is kind of hard cap by the size of the tempo, but I would assume they're just gonna just nerf the numbers, because I mean, it's either that or they have to fundamentally kind of redesign it in a way.
They can
And I don't know
flatline
if-
diminishing returns at a breakpoint as well, at a certain threshold.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
And then the only thing that a new room would add would just be more quantity of monsters, but they can flatline the scaling.
They'll probably have to do that. Though you know, the real issue I have, and I'm not saying the nuclear of having no currencies is a good solution, but there is one thing I like about it, which is it just removes like having to worry about rebalancing this shit all the time. You bring the top end down so tier zeros don't poop out every 15 seconds, and you just remove currency, and then you don't have to balance this shit anymore. Because like the problem we're gonna have with this is this is gonna be a balance nightmare consistently. Like, it's always going to be a fucking problem. Anytime they touch anything about rarity, anytime they touch anything about quantity, anytime they touch anything about effectiveness, or they touch any of these modifiers, the tempo is, oh, here we go again. So I'm a little worried about it just being a problem in perpetuity. Which is, I don't know. I hope they do a pretty solid nerf for this. One thing's for sure, which is going into 0.5. I think it's going to be Poverty League. I think we're going to be back to everyone is feeling broke because they are.
And people will complain about it.
People will complain about it. Then we have the Omen of Light thing that got figured out, and like the Abyss shit got like bug fixed, but you know, it's a nerf, right? Okay, so I think we're going to be right back to like, everyone's starving, which isn't that big of an issue, I don't think. But I do think there's one mechanic that needs to get looked at primarily for rebalancing. What do you think it is?
What, Abyss?
Expedition.
Expedition.
Because
like the
it is too
crafting part of it, or the gameplay mechanics of it? Or both.
Expedition had one good moment in 0.2 and kind of creating mid-tier items when we didn't have, like, right when you got in the maps, you could use Recombinator. It was actually pretty solid back in 0.2. But since we actually have, like, a decent amount of crafting in the game now, not a lot, but, like, still, like, way better than we had, Recombinator really didn't become that great. It's basically a discount Scour Orb at this moment. So, because of that, I would love to see the actual league mechanic portion of it. Not the Pinnacle. The Pinnacle boss is quite good, by the way. Oroth actually has good drops. The boss is great. It's arguably one of the best, okay? Good fight also. You get a decent amount of them. I don't have a problem with the boss, okay? But the mechanic, like, portion itself, specifically the Recombinator, is kind of an issue. And then doing the mechanic itself, it does not feel, like, very rewarding either. So I would love to see Expedition get a little bit of, looked back on.
I do agree that people don't engage that much. Like people engage with Expedition to get the logbook and sell it, or if you run the logbook, is for the splinters to fight all, right? But no one actually interacts with the 4 dudes, like, or crafting or gambling or whatever you do with those guys, right? By the way, talking about that, I connect with another prediction. Mark said in one interview, in that one that GHAZZY shared earlier, that it is lame that the Pinnacle endgame bosses in Path of Exile 2 are the same Pinnacle endgame bosses that in PoE 1. So, several new Pinnacle bosses. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
I'm down for that. I'm with you on that one.
I think that also, okay, so what do you guys think your favorite bosses in PoE 1 are? Just out of the gap, what are your favorite bosses?
In PoE 1?
Yeah, PoE 1, just out of curiosity.
Eater of Words, Sitting Exarch. Yes, those two are my favorite one.
The fuck did you just say?
Eater of Worlds and
Searing Exarch?
Eater of Words and Sitting Exarch. Yeah.
What the fuck?
I hate the Maven and I hate Sirus. Those are the worst bosses.
Base.
What the fuck?
What's wrong with Exarch, GHAZZY? Exarch's up there.
No. I think Searing Exarch is one of the worst fights in the history of the game.
Oh, you're a minion player. No wonder you hate it.
Okay,
because the minions die to the walls.
Okay, to be fair, I can just send my minions into the wall of balls, and I'm fine. I still consider that to be one of the most annoying and shittiest fights in the game.
Really? Exarch is my like top 2, maybe top 3. Wait, hold on. Why don't you like Exarch? I'm curious about this for a moment. Why don't you like Exarch?
I just don't like the whole mechanic. It just interrupts and have this little ball face. It's boring. It's dull. It's counterable very, very easily with walls or just summon skeletons. It's completely irrelevant. You just spam a level 1 skeletons and then it costs no mana. You just put them up and they will explode the balls for you. You're safe. You can stand in the middle. You have to sit there and wait for nothing to happen. And then the fight is a couple of AoE effects and that's it. It's just boring. It's dull.
Man, we do not have the same Exarch experience.
Exactly. Exactly. Play it with a character that doesn't have a minion or a torrent, and the only way to dodge is or with the mouse or with Frostblink.
No, because what you do, you put a blue socket on your gear as a melee character with a level 1 summon skeleton and put them on the balls. You have enough mana as a melee character to do that. It's a shit fight.
I have not done that.
You should try that.
Okay,
and the fight becomes a joke.
I mean, yeah, maybe you can, but I'm just saying, if you want to be ethical,
Okay, ethical.
You dodge.
Ethical.
You go through the ones the Maven shoots, and you play the game as God intended. That's what I think.
Plus, that is not the only thing Exarch does. He has other mechanics too.
Yeah, like a couple of AoE effects, and then he dies.
Yeah, exactly. That is why it is cool. Brother, Sirus goes into the fucking air for 80% of the fight.
Okay,
I'm not
gonna say
make
Sirus
it go
is a good
down.
Fight.
You have to be below him, but you cannot be below him because there is shit on the ground. It is a dog shit fight.
Don't forget the quad beam if you happen to die and you run in again, and he just quad beams you across the screen. But no, that fight's I think Eater World is better. I like the way Eater World is. My favorite boss fight is something the vast majority of the player base have never fought, and it's All. All is without a doubt the best boss fight in the entire game.
But you told me earlier that you don't like Delve, and I love that fight, obviously.
I don't like Delve, but I like Delve bosses. I think All fight is very, very cool, especially when you push it up to a very high difficulty where he doesn't get insta-killed. The fight is very, very well made. Outside of that, I'm not a big Expedition fan, but Allroth is such a fucking cool fight in PoE 1. I think it's so well made in both games. It's incredible how well made that is. I'm not a big fan of the mechanic, but the boss fight is really cool.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The Unburdened Flesh, this guy? That fight?
And in
the
PoE 2, I like... In PoE 2, I like the Arbiter, to be honest. I know that some people don't like the Arbiter because of the one-shots, but I think it is a mechanic that forces you to move around. A boss that forces you to move.
Okay,
I had a competition with a former content creator who has since been permabanned, known as Path of Bath. We had a competition on an all fight in Delve at like depth 2.2k or something. The guy had a couple of billion HP, and we had a fight of who could beat the boss first, and it was like the most enjoyable shit ever because the fight's actually really enjoyable, and there's a lot of cool mechanics in it. Even the intermediate.
So far, I'm just literally watching
transition.
him, just like he's just swinging the sword, and that's it so far. So hold on, I'm trying to.
I cannot believe you have not fucked that guy, DM.
It's a really cool fight. No, I'm not a big fan of Del, but that fight is really cool. The transition phases he has is really cool, and you actually have to play them and pay attention. Like there's a phase where he turns into a statue and shoots at a like a shield charging guy that leaves frost trail behind you or behind him.
Yeah, I'm literally watching that right now.
Yeah, he targets you with it, but if you are standing on one of the ice boxes or ice pillars or whatever it is on the sides, they will shatter them, and they will add more projectiles when he does the other fact, and the fight becomes increasingly hard. So you need to make sure that you position yourself between them when he does the shield charge thing. So the shield charge dude that charges out from him does not hit one of those.
Bro, there's no way this shit is your favorite fight, bro. This shit is ass.
It is such.
What are we talking about?
It's a cool fight.
What the fuck? And
it's a cool fight.
Worse than this, dude. You are insane.
No. In my book, it's all, and then it's all Roth, and then Eater of Worlds. And I would put Maven up there, but the memory game, I don't have problems with it. It's just annoying, and a lot of people hate the memory game. But my top three: All Fight, All Roth, and Eater of Worlds.
Okay, I gotta finish watching this, Sparrow, because like so far, like this is the biggest L take I've ever heard. This shit is boring. Huh? Like, the fuck are we talking about, bro? He does his little shield charge, boyo, and then he basic attacks you, and that's like.
Do we have to put this take into the tier list in the absolute dog shit tier? I like the boss. I like the boss.
You gotta fight it in game, man. You gotta experience it, man.
Do I? I mean, okay. I guess.
I mean, you can counter a lot of it. Like someone in chat said that apparently the footage you're watching is someone healing through it. Like the fight is very, very, very difficult.
Yeah, exactly. That dude is basically not doing the mechanics. He doesn't care. When you are playing and wanting not to die, you have to care about the mechanics.
Hold on. So you're telling me this is boring because he's not doing the mechanics, but then your logic for why Exarch sucks is you just bypass the whole game by fucking cheesing it with skeletons. So why does it work for you but doesn't work for me? This looks like dog shit, guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
so the reason
do the mechanics, the boss is pretty sucky.
I can't go into an all fight with a level 1 summon skeleton in one of my eye sockets and clicking that a few times to bypass an entire phase and trivialize the content. Okay.
Oh, it's pretty.
But to trivialize all, I've done it once on very deep depth, like 1500. I trivialized it once. You know how I did that? I had a character worth 3 mirrors and an aura bot worth 5 mirrors standing next to me. That's how I trivialized the fights. I could not trivialize it in any other way. That was the only way I could trivialize it. Like the fight is ridiculously hard.
I mean, he's literally running in a circle here. It's like he's lost at Walmart looking for his mom. That's what this looks like to me for a fight. Like,
okay, you get your ass to depth 1000 and you kill all on your first attempt. I will gift you 10 subs.
All right, well, that sounds like free 10 subs to me, buddy. Okay, so now he's standing in place, just observe. Okay, you know what? Fine. Sure, it's got mechanics. You know what? Sure, it's a cool fight. Why not? But they're saying this is better than Exarch is an insane take. Okay. My point that I was going with this is, because we were talking about Pinnacle bosses, to bring it back to PoE 2, all right? So, your favorite fights for me and GHAZZY aren't in-game fights. These are fights that happen, as soon as you hit, like, basically tier 16, right? They're mid-game. Mid of in-game fights, okay? So, in terms of bosses that are going to be added, I think we're getting those, and I think they're going to be kind of cool because we need that level of content into the game. I think if they add uber bosses, like let's say stuff above uber arbiter, like, we get more 30 million HP uber bosses. If we get that without balance, then I think what ends up happening is we get into a point where people aren't going to like the additions to the end game because people are going to get to that point and now their build's online and we're going to have a bajillion cast on crit sparks again and they're going to go and they're going to see the new Uber fight and just like this dog shit old fight that you were showing me here, it's going to be completely invalidated. They're going to one shot. They're not going to see any mechanics and it's going to be boring, right? And then everyone's going to be like, this in-game sucks, all the new content sucks, etc. So I think if they add the mid-game stuff, even if they don't touch balancing, which that's another conversation we got to get into, even if they want to do balancing, they start adding bosses like, so that was 65, 70, 75, like around that portion of it, then we'll start seeing like some actual boss fights, hopefully, because by then people aren't ramped with a million fucking DPS, etc. So new bosses, yes. Where are they positioned? Not above Uber. I don't think we're getting Ubers. I think we're getting earlier on other like league mechanic type of bosses. I think it was a Talkative Try interview in which he said there's like 4 more breach bosses, for instance, that would potentially fit into PoE 2, like mid game. And he said those were like mid game bosses. So that's part of it as well. And then one of those, here's another take for you. One of those breach bosses, I think, is going to be the one from the Hive Fortress. You know, I forget their names, but the dual breach boss, where you have like the one and then the other, and they kind of go back and forth. That feels like a PoE 2 fight to me in PoE 1. That's what that feels like to me. So I think that's one of the breach fights also.
That would be pretty
I
cool.
do agree with the take about the mid bosses because I think it was Mark who said that there were several breach bosses coming. He outright said it. Like we had mid breach bosses planned for the game. Another thing that I like a lot about the Uber, not the Uber, the normal versions of the City Exarch and the Eater of Worlds is how, well, the Maven also has this, how you have all this quest line going up to them, right? And they send you like, you first have to find the envoy on a map, then you get the Eater influence, then you have to get the maps with the Eater influence. You are scaling in the tiers, and then you get like this middle boss. I don't remember the name, but it is a middle boss before the Eater, the Polaric Void or something like that. No, that is for the City next. Eater is another one. And then you keep building, and then you get the Eater, right? All that building of this quest line is entirely missing in the endgame in Path of Exile 2, and I would love to get that because it is not only cool, but it also provides direction for people that don't know what to do in the endgame.
I mean, if we're talking about Pinnacle bosses, the Arbiter is not connected to the campaign. It is an endgame exclusive deity or entity. Once you kill Arbiter, there is a cliffhanger stuff happening northeast of him after the fight.
Yeah.
It sounds to me, based on this, that might be our next step of next endgame Pinnacle boss. That is the next thing after Pinnacle. And since they were talking about it, Mark was talking about the Pinnacle boss fights in that CGD interview. It's very likely that we'll see whatever that entity is. That's what I'm thinking.
So, okay, agreed. And hot take, the reason Uber Arbiter seems completely disconnected and we're like, who the fuck is this dude? Like out of nowhere, is because we don't have Act 5 and 6. And Act 6 is going to tie into like who the Arbiter is, why we're chasing him, and what the orb is, right? Like that's what I think like it is connected. I just don't think it's not connected yet because we don't have 5 and 6 that make any sense. We just do like interludes and we fight the Ferrodin Prince and then we're straight into it. Yeah, the 4th edict already burns for your worlds, like Crimson Cast says, but the 3rd edict was last league, right? So like I think now I could be mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the 4th comes after the 3rd.
That is something we learned in our womb in Scandinavia. Yes. I don't know if that's like a college kind of thing in the US, but yes.
That's higher learning for us. Okay, last conversation.
I also think we could get like the quest line that I am referring to, the City Exarch and the Eater of Worlds. We could get one like that, both for the Arbiter, right? And that quest line explains what the fuck the Arbiter is, and you are already in the end game.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I could see that also. I feel like the Arbiter is big enough of a thing. Like it's like the obvious chase that like it kind of they need it in the campaign or something. Like it needs to be like Sin's like, and now we have to go like put it in the ass to the arbiter or else he's gonna fuck us all back, like, or something. Like they need, you know, not exactly those words probably, but like they need something
Probably.
fairly similar, you know, to make it make sense, or else it's just gonna be kind of weird. You get to like Endgame and then it's like, go kill this guy, you know.
Yeah, what happened to Jazz?
Okay,
I want to see his head.
He's relaxing.
Yeah, I was.
I looked away for a second. I was like, what the fuck?
It's a 15-hour podcast. Let the dude lean back here. I'm gonna do the
Oh
same
shit!
thing.
How long have we been going?
Way too long.
I've been working.
here-
I've been working this whole time, by the way, at the same time.
Work from home W.
Yeah. Well, my tier list that I wrote down is kind of done.
Okay. I have one last, and
Okay.
then I'm out of my predictions. So far, our predictions are pretty much all the same. I think these are fairly obvious ones, but there's one major talking point that I think needs to be addressed soon, and 100% has to be addressed before 1.0, and that's fundamentally rebalancing of power of the players. It's tied
Like
to
power creep?
itemization, and we talked. I don't even know if it's so much power creep, because to be honest, even in 0.1, like we were already there. We had like stat stacker gemling shit, for instance. So like we have been insane since the very beginning. Arguably it's getting more so, sure, grant you that, but like I don't know how you guys feel about it. They said in the last interview that they were trying to get the DPS of like good builds down to like 500,000 DPS per second. We're kind of at 50 million or something. So like I don't, you know, it's not, we're not really, we're exponentially away from where obviously it seems like they want us to be. So they're going to need to address that at some point. I understand when they do nerfs, people hate it. I understand they don't do nerfs mid-league, which means they have to do them when the league comes out. I know that they're trying to get, you know, some positive atmosphere around the game before 1.0, and it might hurt, but it feels like one of those things, which is, to use a line that actually both GGG and Blizzard said, once the medicine has gone down, it's a little bit easier, right? It is one of those situations. I know people are going to hate to see their shit nerfed. It's the same thing as Temple for me, which is like we have too much dopamine in the Temple. We have too much dopamine in the top end builds. We gotta address this. Do you think we're going to see that in 0.5, or do you think this is a bigger issue?
I think that they have to make the end game in a state that they can balance and work with. They have to bring us down, because if we're trivializing all the new stuff, what's the point? I think we lose a lot of the entertainment and enjoyment from it.
So you think that they have to do with agree, but do you think they're doing in 0.5 for our prediction? Do you think we're seeing some fairly wide-reaching rebalancing?
Yes.
Immediately.
I think so. I hope so, rather.
I think we are getting big nerfs, but I don't know if they are going to nuke everything towards they get a ceiling of everything needs to do X amount of damage. I don't know if they'll go that far, but I do expect heavy nerfs to top performing shit, especially the cast on crit comment.
Yeah, I would imagine we see cast on gems probably touch, because it's not just crit. I mean, you can do cast on ailment stuff, etc. too. Like there is cast on itself is like pretty strong. The problem is like I understand we kind of have to nerf it, but cast on is like one of the ways to make builds kind of cool and interesting. Like thematically, I don't have a problem with what they are. Like they are really cool, and I'm glad they exist. But the power fundamentals of it are out of control.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think
Like,
that they've already tried to bring it down once, and I just don't think it was enough during the whole lightning meta bullshittery. I guess it's still going.
So someone says it's just comment, cast on is fine. Do you think if let's just say comment didn't exist in the game, does the problem still exist for you?
I mean, that is one of the more extreme outliers. I think that there needs to be more than just that, but that is the main outlier, I would arguably say.
There are other things that you could use, right? People will just find the next best thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Blood Mage. Blood Mage gets touched or nah? You think it's allowed to kind of be the reigning champion, 3 leagues in a row here?
No. It's too
Something. They
far.
will do something, even if it is a slight.
I mean, the way they shake
Because
metas up in the past has always been to look at what is the most played stuff, and then they heavily nerf that to forcefully push in a meta shakeup. Like that, no matter if something is more powerful than anything else, if not enough people are playing that specific thing, they don't touch it. But if too many people, quote unquote, is playing XYZ, then that is what they're going to shake the shit out of. They're going to nerf the crap out of it to force push in a shakeup of the meta. And I think that they're going to be doing that in PoE 2 as well.
I'm wondering if they're going to what's it called, the eventuality crit or whatever. What is it, the one like indefinite crit? What's the crit one? It's something like
inevitable crits.
inevitable. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Jazzers. Inevitable crit. I'm wondering if they end up changing that node to like, you have 50% more chance to crit or something, as opposed to like actually inevitable.
Or they leave it as is, but they change how it interacts with custom crit. Like it doesn't provide energy, or it provides 1/10 of the energy or whatever.
To lower the energy gain from it or something. Yeah, maybe.
You know what's crazy is like it has that node, okay, on Oracle, and Oracle in 0.4 was a new class. So you had two factors. It's definitely usable on the meta build, and it's a new class to be more interesting to people. And still, Blood Mage is played more. They're on the same percentage, 17%, but the wins in the digits. Blood Mage is slightly higher in Oracle in terms of playing. So that shows you how much like. And that's, again, basically the same build again. And I think we actually saw some nerfs too this league too. But didn't they nerf the globe, etc.?
Yeah.
Because of mana? Yeah, true. Mana's kind of a thing.
But I do think the Oracle will be nerfed somehow because of that, the high play rate.
Pathfinder ended up being fine though, I think, right? Like Pathfinder I don't think was like a problem, right? Like it was a cool addition that people thought was going to be really strong OP. I also thought it was going to be like OP, but I didn't really see Pathfinder like ended up being an issue, right? Like what's it played right now?
I can't argue for it. I think it was really, really, really high up there, but other things became more extreme outliers and just took the throne as a result.
Yeah, Pathfinder 13%.
Oh, there you go.
It is mostly a successful rework, I would say. Although I would like to see concoctions get maybe a little bit more love, because I think concoctions are still like kind of unplayable. Let me see here. Okay. Acid concoction 0.0%, shattering concoction 0.0%, fulminating concoction 0.0%, bleeding concoction 0.0%, explosive concoction 0.0%.
Sounds about right.
So if you actually open up and click on acid concoction right now, you can literally count how many players there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's only 16 players in the entirety of Fate of the Vol softcore trade that are even playing.
Okay, well, I gotta stop you there. You gotta keep in mind that the PoE Ninja, you have to opt in to get your character shown, which is not that many. It's a large chunk of the veteran top end players, but it gives us a good idea. But it only takes the top shift of the players.
That's true.
And it only takes the people that have opted in for it. We do have to be, especially as content creators, have to be very careful with utilizing those as this is how many people playing this by XYZ, because there's so many more playing, right? But, to be fair, when there is a meta that's being shaped around that and people are being recommended to check that, we can also assume that a large percentage, if not the majority, of the casual players will also be going for similar playstyles, right? That is the assumption, but we do have to keep that in mind that, there's obviously way more people doing it, but they haven't opted into it.
Sure. However, counterpoint, okay, the top damage currently for those people that did opt in, that are the meta, that are the 1% of the 1%, they're not casuals. They're all the way in it. These are the people that are big dick in the game, and they choose to play Acid Concoction. The top damage right now is 17,000. So there's probably a problem.
Yeah. On PUB or PUE Ninja numbers aren't always accurate. But yes, no, I definitely agree with you. There's definitely issues around it, for sure.
I mean, I've played it. It fucking sucks ass. I can just tell you, it's not. It's not good. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a problem. There's a problem with the concoctions just in general.
But then, because the idea is that you pick Pathfinder to play the concoctions, but people are not picking it for concoctions, but for the other shit. So if you buff the concoction and don't touch the other stuff, then the Pathfinder shoots up. What does happen?
Well, and also like that's true, but then also another problem with some of these like main skills that you have to pick from the Ascendancy is you can't actually jeweler them. So it's like if they are making jewelers easier to get, like you can get a jeweler super easy in the campaign, right? But like you have to get what is it, level 40 before you even get like
35.
Is it 35? Okay,
I think it's 35, 50. Let's see, 35, 50, and it's 85 or 90.
Is it? Are you sure it's 50 for a grader? That seems early.
Someone correct me in chat, maybe? I think it's 35, 50 or 35, 60. And then the last one is level 90.
Yeah, it's 90 for 5. Let's see here.
90 is the last one. And I think the first one is 35. And I think the next one is 50 or 60. Could be 65. I think it's 30 or 60. Or 50 or 60.
Yeah, I thought it was 40.
40, chat saying 40.
90. 40,
Okay.
65, 90. That's what I thought. So it's you know, imagine, you know, people are getting to Act 3 right around when you guarantee the perfect jeweler at like, you know, 30-ish, right? Give or take a few levels depending upon how fast you are, right? But then also Buried Shrines guarantees you one anyway, and you're there at like 26 or 25 or somewhere right around there in Buried Shrines anyway. So it's like you're actually getting jeweler like 15 levels earlier on any skill that's not, you know, 15 levels is a lot of the campaign.
Yeah.
So that's you're getting that significantly earlier in non-main Ascendancy skills. I think so. I think the Ascendancy skills maybe should be able to either be jeweler or maybe retune at what level you actually get them, because not getting it perfect till 90 is like kind of crazy. I understand that they're free and they were valued with them actually being free back in the day. Remember, greater and perfects were really rare back in the day. They actually had value to them, and then they made more and more and more common as the leagues went on. But they didn't. That value that was lost in terms of how rare they are isn't actually represented in Ascendancy skills. So like they should probably relook at Ascendancy skills in terms of leveling too, because that's kind of another problem with concoction. I mean, there's more problems than that, but like that's another compounding issue in relation to concoction. All right. Well, that's my list. Anyone else got other talking points you want to do, or else? Otherwise, I guess we've kind of gone through our list here.
I'm done.
I have one thing that I want to ask you guys if you agree. I have a huge rant from some months ago where I was complaining about crafting and the omens, specifically the Omen of Whittling, the Dexter Erasure, Sinister Erasure. The other one is annulment, I believe so. Like those omens, in my opinion, are too expensive and are too rares, and they unlock the true crafting in the game, right? Like, yes, you can do simple crafts at the start, but not even close to what these omens unlock. But you also don't use one of them. You need several of them, but then they are too expensive. So they virtually don't exist for 99.9% of the player base. You find that omen and you sell it to purchase the item that you want. You don't use it. Who is using these omens? Two groups of players, or the Uber Blasters that are a minority of the community, or real money traders. So why do I have an item in the game that virtually doesn't exist for the majority of the people? I will hope so that they improve this situation. At some point, Jonathan said in an interview that they tried giving it, like making them less rare, and that didn't work because the people that are already crafting with those corner the market and just keep kept buying everything, and the problem remained. I don't know if that is entirely true, because the homogenizing Omen was fine in Rarity and it wasn't that expensive. But even if it is, then that points at a fundamental problem with the whole crafting system, and it should be reworked. What I'm meaning is, or you rework the system, or you make them less rare, or you give us an alternative to the homogenizing Omen. What do you guys think?
I got two things on this. Number one, why is Omen of Withering so much harder to acquire and have like such an RNG chance when we look at things like Omen of Light, and Omen of Light is basically just better because you're removing off something that then allows you to select multiple different good affixes from slamming back on, right? So like Omen of Light just seems better than Omen of Withering for me, and yet there's ways to actually farm these at a decent rate. So at minimum, the Omen of Withering should be as strong as Omen of Light, I would think, first of all. Second of all, another way you could do this is you should be able to have like a drop rate of this on the boss. Okay? The boss itself doesn't really have many good drops. You have to do ritual to get it. It's not like you can just get these without doing ritual anyway. The valuation of like ritual splinters, no one really is running ritual. Just add the rare omens as a drop chance to the boss. And then the bosses have more valuation. I think bosses are cool in the game. Being able to actually farm bosses for more loot would be fine. And then you actually are getting more consistent currency from actually farming splinters if you want to sell the splinters, or you could try to go kill the boss for yourself. It would just juice the rituals a little bit.
I do think that the Ritual King drops. I have farmed them, but they are still so rare that you cannot comfortably just farm them from the Ritual King, because you get 1 in 50 runs.
Yeah, so as someone who fundamentally loves crafting in both games, I would arguably say that Whittling is noticeably stronger than Lights by many times over. I think that the biggest problem is these type of crafting mechanics are so incredibly strong, similar to Hinekora locks and whatnot. And we see this trend in PoE 1 with that type of currency crafting, anything from Reflective Mist to Hinekora locks to like these type of high-end crafting materials. They will always follow the trend of what you can achieve with utilizing the craft and how much is the value of the finished product the crafters are producing. And the more value there is to do those things, the more they are willing to pay for those crafting materials. The problem with the meta crafts, and I'm talking about can't roll cast or can't roll tax, suffix can't be changed, prefix can't be changed. Those are the 4 considered meta craft methods. In Period 1, we have a locked craft cost of them. We're bench craft, and I've always been advocating that a PoE 2 should have a fixed rate of crafting for it, or craft cost for utilizing those type of crafts to create for example, a div sync in PoE 2. The problem with them being player controlled is that they enter the market being player controlled, which means that they will always be priced of what the product that can be made with them is going to be selling for, which means that from the very get-go, they're already gate-kept from the vast majority of the player base. And I've been a very loud advocate for over a decade now with how I think that everyone playing Path of Exile should learn how to craft. Whether or not you decide to use that knowledge doesn't matter. Learning how to craft allows you to better navigate through the mist of learning how to price items or seeing what items can sell for that you loot from the ground. So learning how to craft is fundamental to play the game in quote-unquote proper way, if you ask me. I'm a very loud advocate for that. But the whole idea of utilizing meta crafts is part of that. But when you have that part of crafting being completely gate-kept away from casual players, to that extent, it not only gatekeeps them away from casual players, it gatekeeps them away from experienced and high-end blaster players as well, because it's too much work and too much currency to even begin to consider using. In the first couple of leagues, I never used them. And I'm someone who generated thousands upon thousands of divines every league and crafted and all that, and even I wasn't using them. If I decided to do it, I could have done more with it. But like, I wouldn't say that I'm a casual player. I played a ridiculous amount of hours, and even I wasn't using them. And that is me as a crafter not even using them. So the percent player base that is using them is so freaking small. And the reason that is the case is because they don't have a fixed cost. They are player controlled and market controlled. And to me, it was like, if I'm going to go into that market, I have to have a ridiculous amount of currency to even start doing that. That already gates keep away the vast majority of the player base to begin with. And if they're not doing that early, the inflation of those items, what the prices are for the finished product, is just going to go up, 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 and people will be willing to pay more for those currency orbs. And the only option we have as someone who's not using them is to straight up sell them, if we even see them to begin with, because they're really rare, which honestly they should be if they want to keep up with this process. But my argument is very straightforward. Give us a benchcraft, put a flat cost on them, create a div sync with them, allow people to navigate with it, allow people to utilize the crafting methods, and then let players actually engage with that method of crafting. That is my personal opinion on it.
Based. And that way you also provide, people have been asking for a divine sync. That is a divine sync right there.
Yeah, 100%.
If it is too deterministic, you can nerf it somehow, right? Like, not at the same power level of the Omens, but something similar. I don't know. But yeah, we need to address the system somehow.
I will say this to add to it. I do use the argument of gatekeeping it away from casual players as a to-go-to argument on this topic. I don't think that even if there was a set price on it, I don't think the vast majority of the casual player base would ever use it anyways. If we see that in PoE 1. It's available to us there. There's a set cost, it's a div sync cost, and it's available. The vast majority of the player base still don't use it. But what happens with the set cost is that you open it up to a very large percent player base that now can, and most of those will be using it. But that player base is still not the casual player base. It's still a large chunk of the endgame players that will be able to utilize that and will be using it. And they are not using it now because of the cost.
What do you give Ritual to offset the fact that Witherling's no longer dropping from there? Like, what do you give Ritual in order to...
I mean, that's the problem, right? Because Ritual's peak approach right now is Omens. Like that is the whole identity, right? So like that's the next problem. How do you solve the Ritual if you do that?
You keep the Omens, but they do something different. I don't know what. But do we go with GHAZZY's point about the casual player? I am somewhat of a noob or a casual in PoE 1, where I don't know almost anything about the game. But the possibility of accessing the content or the barrier of entry to accessing the content is entirely different. For example, if I am looking for a guide to craft an item in PoE 1 and they say, hey, at this step you are going to go to the crafting bench and you do prefixes cannot be changed for 2 divines, okay, I can do that. But if I am watching a guide on PoE 2 for a crafting an item and they say, hey, you need to have several Omen of Witlings, I immediately close that and I am not even going to try, right? And this has already happened to me. Like this is an example that happened. I crafted a sword with prefixes cannot be changed in PoE 1 and everything was fine. I have never used any of the high-end Omens in PoE. I always trade them away.
I will say this. I agree that crafting is better than the start of PoE 2. It's worse than 0.3 because of homogenizing, but homogenizing, in my opinion, was way too strong. I think we can all agree on that. But a lot of people on this topic do say that crafting is utter shit. I think that if you learn how to craft in PoE 2, crafting in PoE 2 is not terrible. It's not great, but it's kind of okay. But mostly it's you buying a base, but not the base white like we do in PoE 1. You buy a base with certain specific stats. Then you use an essence. And then you have more essences to utilize for that. It's mostly just essence crafting. And you can do really good things and really cool things with crafting in PoE 2 right now. The problem is that it's very, very specific and is limiting. And it all starts with you buying a specific base with specific modifiers that you're looking for to create that good outcome. So the crafting is okay at best, but I don't think it's great. Not by any means. But it's also very, very, very niche, if you will, because it's kind of limited. That's how I see crafting.
It has to go in. I mean, I completely agree, but I'm worried about adding stronger additions into crafting in the game in which we don't have content that currently needs the crafting. Like, the more and more additions we have into making items strong and deterministically strong through additional crafting ways, like more ways to either make it easier or more ways to acquire the stats we want, like, it's already out of control. Like, I think we have to have difficulty that matches the ability to have gear to conquer the difficulty. Right now, like, the difficulty is way the fuck down here and we're way up here. And as we get more and more ways, then we just go higher and higher. But like, this isn't changing. Like, either this needs to be brought up or this needs to be brought down, or a little bit of two, and then you bring them up together. But like, if the more that we continue to have overpowered shit or shit that makes the gear basically better or more accessible or whatever term you want to use without having something to actually challenge the characters, like it needs to be done in tandem. I'm not against the idea. I think locking it behind 2 div in order to do the Omen the Wailing thing or something like that is like probably infinitely better than the system we have. I agree. I got no problem with that. Okay. I don't think they're ever going to do a crafting bench, but like I get the argument. Sure, you got me. Divine Sync, we all love that. Sure, but now let's say everyone can just access Omen and Wailing, and now you can make gear even easier. Okay, so now we basically on average have stronger gear, and the content stays down here. Like, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, like, that's my concern. Like, unless the game at some point starts adding more and more and more chase content, like, everyone can destroy the game. Normal players can destroy the game. You follow anybody's build guide. You don't even need mirror gear. If you're doing a really popular build or something, then yeah, your gear is going to be expensive. But like a lot of these builds for not that expensive can crush the game from the campaign even. So it doesn't need to be harder in the campaign, but we need something. Like we either need the power level down at the end game or we need
I mean, we already talked about one of our predictions being that there would be some extensive nerfs to the outliers on the top end, and we're also talking about new Pinnacle endgame content, and the endgame is getting changed. So, I mean, in a best case scenario, we get all of that. I don't think they'll touch crafting this league at all. Maybe they'll add something new with a new league mechanic, maybe, but I don't think they'll nerf the existing crafting stuff. I don't think that's in anywhere near their priority for this league.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I also agree. I brought up the point because I wanted to hear you guys' opinion on that specifically, but I agree that for what 0.5 is, I don't think they will touch that either.
Yeah. Balance will be probably later.
Yeah. Likely.
All right. Well, I think that's any other talking points you want to go in? I know we've been going for how long has this been? Like 2 hours?
Couple of hours.
Yeah, it's been a long one, so.
Jazz, I poked Jazz and said, you want to yap? And he's like, oh, I'm working. I was like, yeah, you're just yapping for the sake of yapping. We don't have much content right now, so we're just yapping for the fun of it installing. And ends up with this multi-hour pseudo podcast.
3 hours later.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, I love yapping. I am always up for yapping.
That was good, man. It was a pleasure having you on, Jazz. I haven't talked to you before, so thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man.
Hey, thank you, man. It is an honor meeting you both and being here, of course. It is awesome. And I've been following you guys and watching your videos for a long time.
That's very nice, man. I appreciate you. You know, we should have made this into like an official tavern talk or something.
I know. I was just saying that we need tavern talks because we haven't done one in forever, and we're kind of pseudo doing them like every other day or something. We've been doing
something like that, yeah. We should get
We're
together and see if we can plan something. Pretty much.
Well, you can. If you invite me, I will always say yes. So there you go.
There you go. We would do a gig. Maybe we do like the entire tavern talk. Bring everybody in for one giant. Your poor editor having to make the image for that. But what if we did like one giant
cameras of every fucking streamer?
Like everybody, dude.
Let me just poke kick in. Yo, you got an hour or two spare for this?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh man. Everyone on the fucking phones watching this shit will have to like sit this close to the screen just to see who's in it.
Yeah, Jorgen and Dreamcore and Talkative and Jazzerus and Powstrong. Yeah, like fucking everybody.
Oh, for 50-man podcast, no one's gonna get to. Everyone gets to say like 2 sentences each.
Yeah, all right, let's go. We get through one topic, and then by the end of it, it's an hour and a half.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you guys later on.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Shout out Jazzerus. Where can people find you here? Do your quick.
Jazzarus _ on Twitch and just Jazzarus on YouTube. Sub to the YouTube, papi. It is quick. It is easy. It is free. You get content. I get a sub. Win-win situation. Click the sub button, dude.
Absolutely. All right, thanks for coming on, Jazz. We'll let you go back to your work.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a great day, dude. This was awesome.
Everybody.
Cheers, man. GG's, boys.